I'm Adam. Thank you for joining this Halloween live stream. Our annual live stream. Joining me is also Lucas. Say hi, Lucas.
Hi everyone, it's me. And as you can tell, I'm Goku from the anime Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Super.
Oh, not
whichever you prefer.
Evangelion?
Nah, sorry. If Goku was an Evangelion, I feel like that show would end a lot quicker.
I do too.
Yeah.
And then also is Antonio. Say hi, Antonio.
Hello, it is me, Antonio, dressed up as Spamton. Spamton from Deltarune.
See, I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's a great game.
It is a very good game.
He's also like one of the best characters in the period.
Do you know Undertale? Adam?
Yes, I do. It took me a second, but yes, I do.
It's like the sequel, quote unquote, to Undertale.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's super good.
Oh. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm a soldier from Vietnam, so I'm boring, I guess.
Classic. I'm from a video game. Lucas is from an anime. Adam is some history bullshit. What is it?
Tommy thought Tommy thought Antonio was Slappy from Goosebumps, and I can see it.
That's no. That looks more like a normal. Like,
actually, you know what,
okay.
Antonio, you totally look like oh Jesus Christ, he was the artist on BioShock. Oh God, what was his name?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
I am also unsure.
Sander Cohen.
Oh.
Okay. Yeah.
You totally look like Sander Cohen.
I can see that.
Yeah, you are totally Sander Cohen right now. All right. Well, this is Halloween because it's spooky season.
Oh yes, we're right at the start.
We're gonna
the
start
first day of spooky season.
We are. It's been spooky season for me for like the last month. Who am I kidding?
Oh, really?
Let's start this because I love spooky stories. Who doesn't love a good spooky story?
Spooky.
I like spooky stories.
Yeah. And I have forced you at gunpoint, both of you.
It was at gunpoint.
To pick two true scary stories that we're going to talk about. And I hope you have them ready.
Well, Adam, I'll let you know, if you had me at gunpoint, I would just use my instant transmission to teleport away. Yeah, no, I have them though.
Where did he go?
I'm back.
Whoa!
So, I want to ask, is there a theme to the scary stories that you guys found, or did you guys just go to Reddit like what Lucas did?
Okay, I only did that for one. Oh, hey. I did that for one of them because I was having trouble finding. I guess if I had any theme to mine isn't like they're real stories, but like they're more so on the supernatural side of stuff.
Okay, so you went supernatural
for the most part.
More on those.
Mine are creepy, like internet oddities.
Ooh,
that is you in a nutshell.
That fits your
creepy internet oddity. Yes, I am.
Yeah. A totally creepy internet oddity.
That fits your character too.
Before we get into this, I just want to say something right now that is driving me absolutely crazy. This is the shortest my beard has ever been, to the point that you guys can barely see it since COVID began. And that's because I grabbed the wrong fucking size for the razor that I used to, and I put one swipe in. I said, "Fuck me."
Oh,
damn.
No.
However, kind of fits my soldier persona.
It do.
Yeah.
It does. But that beard is coming back because, boy, howdy, do I fucking hate this right now.
Do you feel cold?
I feel like a baby.
Baby.
I feel like
we gotta make
baby.
more baby Adam pictures.
No. Oh, speaking of cringe,
you doing
so
it?
I found a picture of Antonio and I.
We're doing it now? Hold
Yeah,
on. I have to be able to see. Hold on.
Oh, I got to bring this up. There we go. Now we can all see each other. Yes. And anyway, so this picture I found scouring my computer the other day because I was updating my website. And I think it should speak for itself.
Yeah, it is that one.
This picture here I found, and this is for your nightmares, ladies and gentlemen.
That was literally the day that I dyed my hair pink.
Yeah,
Oh, yes.
Yep,
And
yep.
I want to say it was my idea to take our shirts off.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Well, it was because I think I like just got out of the shower after getting the pink hair. And we were like, we need to take a picture. And I'm like, Adam, come with me. And then I already had my shirt off.
Yes,
I decided to take yours off, and then we took the picture.
And then we sent this, I think we sent this to everybody at GCN.
Yes, I sent this in my friend's Discord server under cursed.
This is definitely
I don't know if
a cursed image, yes.
I don't think I put it in the GCN server, though.
I think you did, actually.
Did I? I might have, actually.
I think you did, actually.
Yeah, I might have done that.
But that, I wanted everybody to have a good nightmare before the stream actually began. I think I succeeded. That is a pretty cursed image.
Now, this is a pretty spooky stream.
This is a spoofy stream. Anyways. So let's actually start diving into our crazy stories, because going forward, I am going to have creepy music to underscore us. So, guys, we got to take this fucking serious, you know?
Don't get too scared, guys.
Yeah.
I hope you all pee your pants.
Well, I wouldn't go that far, but oh my god, so many layers. All right, so you know what? I was originally gonna go first. I think Lucas should go first. Lucas should do the first story. We'll do them one at a time. So Lucas will go, I'll go second, and Antonio will go third.
Okay. You want me to? Okay, all right, I'll go first.
Yes. So serenade us, Lucas.
All right, everyone. Strap in. So this first one, I clicked off the wrong tab already. Already fucked this up. Is this one? No, it's not that one. Is it? Wait, is that one? Okay, shit. 1 second. There we go. Okay. So this first one doesn't really have a title to it, because that kind of reveals one of the ideas about it. So I didn't want to include it. So, sorry. So it's from a storyteller by the name of Doug Averill. He's a retired owner and manager of the Flathead Lake Lodge. Doug Averill grew up as one of 8 boys on his parents' sprawling dude ranch, the Flathead Lake Lodge in rural Montana. As a teen, the Averill boys ran wild. Here, a quote here: We rode as a little gang of cowboys, he remembers. They'd saddle up and head off to check the cattle of the 3 giant tracts of land the family managed, which formed a triangle around some of the state's most remote rangelands. One summer in the 1960s, the brothers came across a ghastly sight. There, on the ground, were 3 dead cows neatly arranged in a circle. No obvious wounds were visible, but their reproductive organs had been removed. Another quote here is, but there was never any blood. It was almost surgically removed. Everyone remembers.
Oh, it's one of these stories. I love these stories.
Mm-hmm. During this decade, America was obsessed with aliens, and write-ups in the local newspapers poised that as perhaps this was the work of extraterrestrials. People mused that aliens had taken the reproductive organs for testing. But one day, Averill and his friends came across a lance in their path. Attached to it was a cryptic note with a threatening message. That's when we thought it's going to be people doing this, he says. Then things got really strange. Over the next few days, a series of odd events unfolded. First, the brothers stopped in a local bar to grab a hamburger, leaving their horses in the back of a stock truck. The horses were packed in tightly, and the Averills were only gone for a few minutes. When they came back, the horse packed into the middle of the truck was mysteriously out, with no signs of a struggle. We had no idea how they possibly could have gotten that horse unloaded without unloading all the others, he says. The next day, a new wrangler on the ranch fell off his horse and was badly injured. They all had been riding together, but not a single other member of the crew saw the accident. It was... Sorry for something to snick up. It was the weirdest thing, Averill says. The man's injuries were so severe that he was left permanently disabled. Finally, the last terrible thing happened. An old camp cook drove out to meet the brothers and ride for a day. But when he arrived, the tailgate on his stock truck had somehow gone missing, even though it had been there when he loaded it up. His horse, Betsy, had fallen out of the truck and been dragged behind the vehicle for who knows how long. They had to put her down on the spot. To be honest, it just killed him to see what happened to Betsy. We probably should have put him down too, April remembers. Those 3 events were just boom, boom, boom. 3 things in a row that were so weird, all tied together, because they were right after we saw that spear, he remembers. 3 things like the 3 dead cows in that circle. April used to tell stories from that summer around the campfire quite a lot, but over the years he got new stories, so they've been shifted out of rotation. Besides, they're awfully grim. But recently he got a call about a downed bull, a buffalo. It was out in one of the most remote parts of his ranch. A neighbor had seen a pack of 16 wolves, and normally wolves don't bother buffalo, but 16 of them? I thought, well, maybe. He went to investigate. There, lying in a snow-covered field, was the bull, but there were no bullet holes or teeth marks or gashes on its corpse. Even stranger, scavenging animals and birds hadn't touched it. Not even the buzzards, which is really unusual, he says. One other thing was amiss. Its reproductive organs were gone. And there wasn't a single footprint in the snow around it, or anywhere, along the mile-long walk into the ranch to the nearest road. Ask Avriel whether he thinks he's dealing with aliens or humans, and he'll tell you he's pretty sure it's humans. But he'd rather it was aliens, he adds. After that summer back in the 60s, seeing what humans were capable of, he'd pick aliens any day. That's my first story.
That I've heard of this story before, or I've heard similar ones to it.
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty.
This is the whole feeds into the cattle mutilation thing.
Yep.
Yeah. And I love that bit at the end. That's honestly a good thing that was said there, where he wishes it was aliens.
Yeah.
That's
I agree with
that's
that,
creepy to me. That's almost more creepy than aliens coming down and fucking up your cattle.
Yeah, because it's very clear, if it was humans, they were, not only that, after the first time they were targeting him, they were stalking him.
What was that bit with the spear that you mentioned?
The spear?
The sphere. I'm sorry, I thought you said spear, and I was like, that's where. Oh, it was.
It was a spear.
Oh,
yeah. Hold on, I'll find it.
Yeah.
Really
What was that again? Because that confused me a tad.
Okay, here it was. During the second. Avriel and his friends came across a lance in their path. Attached to it was a cryptic note with a threatening message. That's when we thought it was going to be. That's the quote. There was just a threatening. They don't say the actual message here, but that was what they found, a lance in their path that had a message on it that was basically threatening them.
Spooky.
Because that's spooky, and that's also the thing that I think makes me go, "This is most likely humans."
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
That was
at the same time. It's like, why are they doing that?
Why are they
How
doing
are they
it?
doing it so
That's
cleanly?
what's almost more terrifying. I think we've discussed this on other live events that we've done, Lucas. Is the scary,
more than
some of the scarier stuff is when we don't know the answer to why. This horrific thing happened, or we saw this weird thing, and we will never know. The uncertainty of the whole thing is the scariest part of the whole thing. But it's the surgically removed organs, and like how there was no bullet wounds, there's no knife wounds or anything like that. Like that, what could have done that? You had to be like an expert in order to do that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of those cattle mutilation stories that are even weirder than that one. And you said you found this one on Reddit.
This one actually I didn't. This is the one I didn't find on Reddit. I actually found this on honestly, this was an issue I was having where I was like trying to find scary stories, and I kept getting like bullshit like BuzzFeed articles that are only like 2 paragraphs.
Those, yes.
That are like 2 paragraphs summarizing a story, and but then I found one that was on like some kind of website that was like, it actually had enough context to all these stories. I'm like, okay. And I found that one. I'm like, shit, that's actually interesting. I like this one. I don't remember the exact website.
And what was this one called?
It just had like a Fox headline. It didn't really have like a title. It just had a Fox headline of like humans or aliens. You decide.
You decide. Oh, one of them. Yeah. Yeah.
Reader beware. You choose the scare. You know how it goes.
100%. 100%.
Reader beware, you're in for a scare.
Well,
It's a decent story.
I always love a good alien story. Recently, I just finished watching Fire in the Sky, which has one of the most terrifying alien abduction sequences I've ever seen in a movie. It was one of the few alien abduction sequences I've seen in a film where I go, "That's Alien." I've never seen anything like it. And
pretty sure I know the movie you're talking about.
Yeah, it's really good.
No,
It's based on a true story. I guess the alien abduction scene is pretty fictional. In terms of what happened inside the craft, but the real story itself, Joe Rogan had him on his show, and it's a great dramatic story. As a storyteller, that's what attracts me. But also, it's creepy, and it's terrifying. And me, Lucas, especially. I usually don't like to say that's an alien, or that's Bigfoot, or that's a ghost. Yeah. That story of the Fire in the Sky is one of the stories where I go, I think something happened to him. I think he was telling the truth. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was he actually seeing aliens? I don't know. But I know for a fact some fucked up shit happened to him. Yeah, it's one of those.
Who knows if it's aliens or not, but like something definitely did happen.
Something terrible happened to him. Yeah, it's one of those things, which to me just adds to the mystery of the whole thing, which only makes it creepier the more you think about it. Which that ties into the theme of my two stories, since I'll go next. My two stories are very much in the vein of they ask more questions than they are answered. And I pulled both of mine from Dave Paulides' book, The Missing 411, which, let me tell you, if you want a catalog of terrifying stories, that is where you get them. And they're all real. Like, they are documented, they are real, they happened. And the first one I want to talk about, I've actually kind of talked about before, briefly, on the show, on another live stream, but not totally, not completely. I didn't go into this much detail. In fact, I didn't even really know their names when I was first talking about it. But this one is, if I can rearrange my windows for a bit. This one is called the Larry, Janice, and Scott case. So this starts on June 7th, 1951. So this was a while ago. This is several decades ago. And this takes place in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And it takes place at the Santa Fe ski basin where two families went on vacation. These two families were very close to each other. They were very good friends with each other. And so despite this being a ski resort, this is actually a popular tourist attraction during the summer seasons for stuff like hiking. And it has absolutely stunning views. Like, if you look up the one that I'm talking about, it still has gorgeous views to this day. Now, these families, they were close, they were tight, they were good friends, and they wanted to have a picnic. So together, they climbed one of the mountains. They went up on one of the hiking trails, and once they were kind of close to the top before things got really difficult, the McGee children, who were Janice, who was aged, Janice, who was aged 5, and then their son, Larry, who was aged 7, and then you had the Cross family, who their son named Stephen, he was only 3 years old at the time, and they wandered off to play. After a while, the parents began looking around and noticed that their kids were gone. They had just up and vanished. Not much time passed, since, they started setting up their picnic and the kids sort of went off to play as, little kids do. And so not long has passed, and they noticed that their kids, they were gone. It had literally been, as one of them described, about 2 minutes. So they began looking around frantically, like, where are their kids? And soon they start searching, and they keep getting further and further and further out from where they set up their picnic. And so essentially it dawns on them pretty quickly. Soon they realize the only way they could have run off was up, to go up the mountain. The only way they would have run away, they would have had to climb up the mountain. So, to re-emphasize this, this is extremely rugged terrain. There are lots of rocks, there are down trees everywhere, there's a lot of thick underbrush, and I want to remind everybody, one of these kids was only 3 years old. But so the parents begin to search, and pretty soon panic really starts to set in. I mean, come on, these are parents that just lost their kids. And a bunch of questions start running through their heads. Did someone abduct their children while their backs were turned? Did an animal take them? Was it a predator if it was an animal? But you start asking a question along this way. How could a single predator take all 3 kids at once? That was one. And that just didn't add up. So the parents ran down to the main building of the ski resort where they were staying. And luckily there was a staff member on site who allowed them to use their phone. Remember, this is long before there were cell phones. He allowed them to use their phone to telephone to the police. So the police do come out, and they erect these huge, giant spotlights aiming up at the mountain. Their hopes were that the kids would see these gargantuan lights and walk down to them. Though, quite frankly, I think that's actually counterintuitive. If I saw a bunch of random bright lights shining at me in the woods, a part of me would want to walk away from it, and I'd be scared. I'd be terrified of these giant bright lights shining at me through the woods. Especially at 7 years old. I remember 7 years old is the oldest child that has gone missing. I'd be terrified of that. So I think that was counterintuitive. But with the spotlights, the police began combing the mountain and searching for these kids. And I want to emphasize that there were hundreds of these people looking for these 3 children, and they searched all night into the next morning. So as the hours go on and into the morning, the authorities hear nothing. They see no evidence, no footprints, and the worst begins to sink in. Most likely, these kids weren't actually there at all. They were not on the mountain, which means they were abducted. And I don't mean by aliens. Someone probably grabbed them and took them off of the mountain, which is, of course, other than them being found dead, the worst case scenario.
Yeah, that's the worst.
Yeah, just the worst. Now, I also want to say this. Put yourself in the parents' shoes for a moment. And I just could not imagine how utterly horrifying that news must have been. The authority saying, I don't believe your kids are on the mountain.
Yeah.
I could not imagine. That following afternoon, things were looking especially grim. I mean, these guys have found no evidence of anything, not even a footprint. And these search and rescue experts, again, they are losing hope. However, one group of searchers decided to hike way above the rest of the bunch, and I mean way up, like towards the summit of this mountain. And let's see. And I want to reemphasize that we're talking about miles upon miles of steep, rocky terrain. And I guess about 3.5 miles away from where they had stopped searching, the rest of the crew had stopped searching, this was 3.5 miles above them, which is a ridiculous amount of distance, especially on a mountain, because on a mountain, 3.5 miles is not necessarily 3.5 miles, depending on how much you have to climb up and then climb down and do all of that. So 3.5 miles away. This one guy, he's about ready to leave. This team they're not up here. This is a last-ditch effort. They're not up here. However, he sees something out of the corner of his eye. So all these people look over, and they are barely able to see something way off, and I mean way off in the distance. And whatever it was, it looked like a small person. Well, it was one of the kids. One of the 3 kids. And this one kid was poking their head out from around a downed log. These searchers immediately run over to them like, oh my god, there's one of the kids. And I can imagine their hearts were just pounding, and there they were. The 3 kids were there. All 3 of them were found. And they were hiding inside of this downed log. They were hiding in there. So these searchers are so happy. You know, we just found these kids, because there are tons of missing children stories within woods across the United States. And even if not in the area where this one took place, they know the horror stories of missing children stories, and rarely are the kids found alive. And so in this case, not only did we find one child, we found all 3, and they were alive and fine. So they picked them up, you know, and they radioed down to the base camp, and everyone was excited. You know, the kids were alive. Everything was going to be okay. So nevertheless, these searchers, as they're walking down this mountain, they start to ask themselves this nagging question that is just tickling the back of their necks. How the hell did these 3 kids, a 7, 5, and 3-year-old, make it this far up the mountain when usually only expert climbers like themselves could make it up there? So after a long and treacherous trek down to their base camp, the kids are reunited with their parents, and it's a pretty happy scene, naturally. And I cannot fathom, again, how horrific those 24 hours must have been for the parents. I cannot fathom that. So they have a doctor come up, and the doctor examines the kids, and they're okay, you know? And he says they're fine, they're good to go. They're just a bit dehydrated and hungry, because, again, they just spent 24 hours out there. But a police officer finally gets down in front of the kids after a few hours of this. And he asks the question that has been nagging everybody from earlier. He asks the 3 kids, how did they get up there? Just blatantly, how'd you guys get up there? And now, to be clear, I also want to say the parents were also wondering the same thing, because these parents kind of know that area. The oldest kid, Larry, he's the 7-year-old, said something that genuinely piqued my interest the first time I heard of the story, which was before I read Dan Paulides' book. And it turned this from what was an excellent little search and rescue story with a happy ending into a full-blown mystery. Larry said they were playing where the parents last left them, so that all lined up. But out from the tree line, they said a bear came out behind a tree and started chasing them. He specifically mentioned a bear, which is odd, because bears, when they're running, aren't quiet. You know, they can stalk, don't get me wrong. They're actually amazing stalkers. But when they run, they don't give a fuck. They're these 3,000-pound mammoths, you know, not 3,000 pounds, but like a 1,000-pound mammoth charging through the woods. They're not very quiet. And I also want to emphasize, people don't realize how fast bears can run. Bears can run extremely, extremely fast. And on top of that, you think the parents might have heard the kids scream.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, I'm a full-blown adult, and if I see a giant grizzly bear come chasing after my ass, I'm going to scream.
Oh, fuck. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, no, same.
So why weren't these 3 kids screaming? Why didn't the parents hear it? Now, I also want to reemphasize that Larry is only 7 years old, and he's really young. But he's also old enough to know, okay, that's a bear. Or something chasing after me, you know? He's old enough to be aware that something is chasing after me and stuff like that. Well, evidently, the 3 kids were so scared, they went up the mountain 3.5 miles up a steep rocky terrain to get away from this bear. Now, I'm wondering how the parents didn't hear any of this. I'm like, how the fuck aren't the parents? Either the parents are totally deaf or the kid is lying. Now, a bear can be quiet. I sort of talked about this earlier, but wouldn't you think that the kids or one of them would have screamed? And yet none of that didn't happen. So the kids are apparently running from this bear, where they find that down log where the searchers found them in. They find that down log, and they hid it inside that log to escape the bear. Now, according to Larry, the bear constantly circled them, just waiting for the 3 kids to come out. Which to me makes sense. Dan Paulides doesn't seem to think that makes sense. To me, that does. To me, that sounds like something a grizzly bear would do, because grizzly bears bears in general are lazy. If they don't want to claw into something, they won't claw into something. However, this is all kind of adding up. Like, it's odd, but, you know, it seems like a pretty plausible story. Until Larry says one other thing. Larry said they were even more afraid of the gorilla.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So now I thought the kids might have actually mistaken one of the searchers as a gorilla, as in a searcher was actually up there. And I don't know, he might have been wearing dark clothes or something like that. I mean, I'm reaching at straws here, but maybe they were just so afraid because of this bear. They thought that this was just another thing. But then you look at the timeline of the events that happened. There was no one up there at that time. While all this was happening, there was no one up there yet. Those searchers that found them had yet to go up there.
Yeah, so it's like...
Yeah. So what the hell were they seeing? Why were they more afraid of that than the bear?
Yeah.
So... No one reported seeing these kids from earlier, even if someone was up there at the time and looking at them. So, but the other two kids seemed scared at the mention of the gorilla, not the bear. The other two kids genuinely became afraid when Larry mentioned the gorilla. That's what's fascinating to me. And so this entire first day and night, these kids hid in this log because both the gorilla and the bear were constantly circling them, looking for them. Now, the more the authorities thought about it, they realized that a bear actually probably would have caught them. You know, maybe the bear was something... Why would the bear run up 3.5 miles just to let the kids go? If it was really hungry, why did it just leave them just leave them like that? Another part of me says, you know what, there aren't many bears in this location. It might have been a sick bear. It might have been a very sick bear. It was desperate for food, and probably it just didn't have the strength to really keep going after the kids that way. Because I don't know if you guys know who Timothy Dalton is. I think that's what his name is. But he's the grizzly man, the guy who got mauled by the bears. That's what happened to him. A grizzly bear. He actually caught it on film the day before. That bear that ate him. That bear was sick. It was extremely sick, and it was extremely thin, and it was desperate for food. And that's why it went after him. Now, once again, they started asking question about the distance thing again. Again, how the hell could a 5-year-old and a 7-year-old make it that far up the mountain that quickly? Now, honestly, I can actually see a 7-year-old doing it. I could see a 7-year-old making it. It would be tough, but I could see them doing it. But a 3-year-old, no. I cannot see him going that way up. Now, if the kids were terrified, like in a fight-or-flight situation, as they kind of described, maybe that would give them the adrenaline enough to do it. But it still doesn't add up because one of them is 3 years old. Why wasn't the 3-year-old eaten if a bear was the one really going after them and stuff like that? Now, unfortunately, there was no further investigation after that, and I understand why. Because there's more important things for the authorities to focus on. I mean, these two kids are here, they're alive, they're with their parents, they're fine. But this leaves more question than answers. You know, how did they make it up that far, that fast? Why did the bear stop when it was chasing them? Why was it circling them? What the hell was this gorilla they saw? The authorities seem to focus on the bear, not the gorilla. Was that maybe another bear? If so, that would be a significant coincidence because bears don't usually go up that far within this area. So what the hell happened? And anyways, that is the Larry, Janice, and Scott case from the Missing 411.
Nice.
What the fuck?
I love how like this is the thing with the story. It starts off pretty normal, right? As you're going through it, and then all of a sudden he says, "Then the gorilla showed up."
Yeah, I was more afraid of the gorilla.
Excuse me?
The what?
The gorilla.
You know,
and then the other two kids like back up the story.
It was the fact that they were clearly more afraid at him talking about the gorilla than the bear that is so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
And why a gorilla? That is like such an obscure animal too. In 1950s, in 1951. I mean, people
Imagine in that area alone.
People
Like,
would
Yeah.
kind of know what a gorilla is and stuff like that, but they wouldn't necessarily be like, that was a gorilla. And it's just, I love this shit.
Smashlander's like, that was me in a gorilla costume. Sorry, I won't do it again.
Yes. That's pretty
That
much
bastard.
it. Tommy, I'm actually going to have to disagree with you because, you know, you're bashing the parents of this whole thing. Let's see, please call
I've-
friends of this. I don't think this is bad parenting. They were just setting up a picnic while the kids were playing.
Yeah, like that's a pretty normal situation, and then some freak thing happens.
Suddenly the
Yeah.
child is gone within the blink of an eye. All three of them gone in the blink of an eye. I don't think that's bad parenting. I really don't.
But the other issue with it is that, again, like you said, how is there no noise being made?
How was there no noise being made?
I would understand maybe not being able to hear it if they were like inside like a camper or something, and they were outside playing, but like they were all outside.
New Mexico, Tommy. This happened in New Mexico, and they lost track of the kids. Of course they... No, I can't
And again,
say-
it's a bear. Like, it's a
if
bear
he's telling the
turning.
truth, because that's just it. It's a
Yeah.
kid. We don't know if he's completely telling the truth. It's just so oddly specific.
Yeah.
Especially since like again, like the other kids' reactions corroborates the story.
Yes. Yeah. Because it's just the fact that they were so afraid of the gorilla. And that's what makes... Honestly, I think that bit there is what keeps this from being just a closed book. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And why were the authorities focused on the bear? They were so focused on that. Like, they didn't even bother to ask them any more questions about the gorilla.
It was a cover-up. They knew about this gorilla.
And that's so interesting to
God.
me, yeah.
I'm joking, but, you know.
Do you think
Tommy's right
do you
there.
think it was the gorilla from SpongeBob?
It was definitely the gorilla from SpongeBob.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, of course.
Tommy is right there. At like 7, I wouldn't really know what a gorilla was unless the parents talked about it or teachers at school. He's absolutely
True.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's absolutely right. At 7. Yeah, so that's what...
I am Spampton.
Yeah, you piece of shit.
I'm sorry. Do I need to have the right glasses on? There. I'm
Oh,
Spampton.
Stanton's here. He's finally showed
Oh,
up.
hey,
Hello!
what'd you do with Antonio?
Well, you see, I sold them.
Oh,
Precious Cromer.
I'm pretty sure that was a reference.
Oh, it's for you.
Well, Antonio, it's time for
Oh,
your
is it
first story.
Antonio
first-
time.
Internet oddity.
Just sit down, get up, do the opposite of what you're doing right now, because it's time for our first internet oddity.
So this is gonna sound like something from some really bad horror movie.
Hold on one second. Lucas, are you eating something?
No,
Lucas,
no, don't switch to me.
switch to him. Switch to him.
No,
Switch
no,
to
no,
him.
No,
Switch to
do it.
him. What are you eating? Oh God! Oh God! He's eating. This glutton. This absolute buffoon.
It's a
Anyway.
Twitch. Sorry.
Left or
Because
right?
all I hear is this really loud crinkling sound while
Sorry.
Antonio's trying to start.
I didn't think it was that loud. I'm sorry.
The first internet oddity.
So, like I said, this is gonna sound like something in a really shitty horror movie, and I'm not gonna lie. The validity of this story, of whether it was fabricated or not, is still up in the air, but it's still cool, and there's video evidence of it.
Ooh.
So, at some hotel in some part of the country, it was a Super 8, actually. We stayed at didn't we stay at a Super 8 when we went to Hershey?
You stayed in a whole camera?
No, it was... that's good. I appreciate that. No, I think we stayed at there's a Comfort Inn, and then there was like a Motel Inn. I literally think it was called Motel Inn.
Okay. Well, either way, so it was a Super 8 like hotel in motel, whatever Super 8s are. And this person was just flipping through the TV channels, right? And they see on their channel guide it only goes up to channel 68. Well, they got to the end of the channel as they were flipping, because they were just kind of looking for anything to watch. And they get to channel 73, which by all means should just be static at that point. And it is. It's static, except for what looks like a glowing face just in the middle of the static, just slightly moving, seemingly watching. And that's really the extent of really the story. But what I find interesting is the theories of how this happened. So of course the first theory being that it's fake and that the person that made up the story is just making shit up, putting shit on the TV. But I think the more interesting theory is that what it could be is TV pirates. Essentially trying to figure out what channels and like airwaves that they can sort of test in order to essentially broadcast their own signal. And like the weird thing about it is that in the corner of the frame, the top right corner, it says, like, you can see the vague like title of a TV channel called Plus TV, which is apparently I think it was either Swedish or Finnish, I can't remember, a Swedish or Finnish like television channel that has been defunct for years, which is why it was so strange, one, to see the name of this channel, but also, of course, the glowing face staring at you in the middle. And again, you can look up videos about this. I watched a video by a YouTuber called Pixels After Dark that made a video about this, and he shows the video. You can find the video for yourself. This is actually a video, a story that comes straight from the X board on 4chan. Yeah, the real spookiest place of the internet, until you get to the dark web and see those skeletons. But yeah, so prevailing theory is that it's TV pirates testing the airwaves to essentially make another like Max Headroom incident, which is a whole can of beans all on its own. But
what incident was that again? My apologies.
So that was an incident where I think it was in Wisconsin. There was like a local TV station that for I think like 3 solid minutes got taken over by like the channel got taken over by essentially TV pirates, and there was like this dude in like a really weird mask and like a weird like spiral background.
Yeah, I do know this story.
And they were just doing some weird stupid shit,
saying a lot of like vulgar shit too.
Saying vulgar shit, spanking each other. Like it was obvious trolls. But like, imagine I think it was the 70s that happened. Like, imagine just in the 70s you're watching TV and then something like that happens.
I want to say it was the 80s. Oh, I do. I want to say it was the 80s because of...
It could have been the 80s.
Style of television then.
Yeah.
Ugh, that's creepy. Well, maybe they were just watching the preamble to Adult Swim. Because...
Yeah, like that weird, like, that weird thing that they showed like after a while where it was like some weird album art shit where it was like,
well, freaking the commercials alone on Adult Swim are bizarre, to put it politely.
Oh yeah,
and they are nightmare fuel.
I do want to add to what Antonio, the one you just said, like the sun always rises, that one you were talking about.
Yeah.
So that card would actually play at the end of Adult Swim broadcast. Yeah, would play that at the end, like when it switches over to Cartoon Network at like 5:36 in the morning, when that would switch over. But with Adult Swim, because I can talk about Adult Swim stuff for hours. Off the Air it's such a cool segment that they had. So Off the Air is like they'll take a specific term, like I'm trying to think of one example, like fire. They'll take fire, and then they'll just have all these clips and images and music tied together to it to fit that theme. They're really cool. They're really cool, like compilations, almost like music videos at times too. Like I highly recommend you watch some of those because they're really interesting. There's like scary ones too.
Well, also I believe Off the Air gave us some of Adult Swim's more like popular content, like Too Many Cooks. I think was part of Off the Air.
Was that part of Off the Air?
Yeah,
I didn't
it
think
was.
that was. I
So-
didn't know that. I know unedited
that.
footage of a bear was from Adult Swim.
Yeah. That was before Cooks. I
yeah,
think.
yeah, that was before. Off the Air also housed what was it called? Save Yourself as You Are, some shit like that. With Alan Resnick.
Yeah.
Gave Alan Resnick his TV start.
I didn't realize that was considered Off the Air too. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Off
Was
the
This
Air
House Has
is where Adult Swim aired all of their like weird content.
Yeah. So This House Has People was there too, right?
Yeah, This House Has
Yeah.
People in it. Unedited footage of a bear
Wait,
was
This House Has
there.
People was on Adult Swim?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know
That was
that.
Adult
I
Swim.
thought that was just an purely online.
Well, it was
thing.
Adult Swim. The first short was Adult Swim, and then if you went on the website stuff, there's like an additional hour plus of like other stuff.
Oh no,
too
no,
to
no!
it. It's awesome.
I know about that. You know,
Yeah.
because Antonio and I
Oh,
played
okay.
through it. But
Yeah.
I gotta tell you what, This House Has People in It is the freakiest thing.
I love it.
It is
I love it.
horrifying because at first you're kind of
So-
chuckle at how bizarre it is, and then as it goes along, you're like, oh, it just the can of worms gets deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper to the point that like it genuinely horrified me.
It is. It's really really good in what it does.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's a
Yeah.
brilliant. That guy's brilliant. That guy forgot his
Oh,
name.
dude.
He's brilliant at it.
Alan Resnick.
Alan Resnick.
Yep.
Yeah, he's really
Agreed,
good
yep.
at doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Um,
Don't catch Lynx disease.
because you know, like he didn't do unedited footage of a bear, did he?
Yes, he did.
Because
he did.
because like
He did.
that one I just found funny, because of how bizarre it was, and also the clever notion that it looks like an old YouTube ad, and it's not.
Yeah.
Like that's funny to me.
Well, the thing is that at the end of the day, Alan Resnick is part of a comedy troupe called Wham City Comedy.
Yeah.
So
Right.
they are a comedic group. They just do dark
They
comedy.
just do really dark comedy, yeah, and I can see that with this house has people in it, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially with the
Hell, you can even see that in his roots with Alan Tutorial.
Oh yes.
Oh my god, I remember when Alan Tutorial was coming out, Antonio, and I genuinely thought that was just a channel where it was nothing but like really funny bad tutorials.
Yeah.
And that was it.
Nope, it's a whole web series.
It's a whole web series.
It's awesome.
And it gets
It's awesome.
so weird.
I remember there was a time where we were quoting that
Oh,
constantly.
constantly.
If you can't pick up the cup, just leave it on the ground.
with Alan Tutorial too. Is it fine if I go into spoilers for Alan Tutorial? Is that a problem at all, or?
I mean, it's a 9-year-old series.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to ask. That's all. But the reveal of the next upload when it's like he's in the room, it's covered in shit. There's like the meat spinning, is like
Yeah.
genuinely terrifying. When you go from the previous one to that is so fucking scary. And then
It is
even
crazy.
the conclusion to it, where it's like really like ambiguous on what happens after. Like he escapes, but we don't know what happens afterwards. So it's like kind of unsettling how it ends too. Alan Tutorial's fucking great.
You know what else is great?
What?
House of Leaves.
Yeah.
House of Leaves to
the
this
book
day.
that I'm reading.
House
forever.
of Leaves to this day, I think, is the scariest book I've ever read. It is a terrifying, terrifying book. But anyways, Tommy was messaging up a storm during your thing. Antonio, and he says it was the 1980s. It happened during a Doctor Who episode.
Right, that's right.
Okay, November 22nd, 1987, Doctor Who episode, The Horror of Fang Rock, which is a decent episode. The first attack on the air was 25 seconds, the second was multiple minutes. Cool.
Yeah. That is right.
Well,
And
not
that's
cool,
actually what
but-
inspired the ARG, I believe, of the Wyoming incident.
I have no idea what that is, but I will look that up.
Really? Max Headroom inspired that? I actually didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Max Headroom inspired the Wyoming incident, which started this whole fucking years long, like I'm talking like over a decade long ARG.
Oh, really?
Oh wow,
Yeah.
it's that long?
Yeah.
I didn't realize.
Well,
I
how
actually
long was
didn't
Marble
realize, like-
Hornets going?
Marble Hornets had a long run too. I think Marble Hornets went for like 7 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it
want
was
to
a
say.
long fucking time. Because I was in middle school.
Yeah.
I want to say I was in middle
Dude.
school when it started.
Well, here and I'm not gonna lie, dude. I rewatched Marble Hornets and everything from To the Arc, and then I rewatched all of Nightmine's videos on Marble Hornets because Nightmine's videos are awesome.
Nightmine's
Like
amazing.
Nightmine's videos on Marble Hornets are honestly like almost the definitive way to watch Marble Hornets. But like, it's
Oh my
just
god, there's a person.
so...
There's a person behind you, Antonio. Okay, she's off screen. She's off screen. If the
Okay.
audience can't see her, she's not there.
But yeah, it's so masterfully crafted. I'm like so like I watch Marble Hornets and I get jealous just because like I want to make stuff like that.
Well, it's just the ambition
And-
of the whole thing, I think, too. I think that plays a
Exactly,
huge
especially since Marble Hornets started in like what 2006.
Again, I think I was still in I was definitely still in middle school.
That would line up for me too, because when I first heard about that from a friend of mine, I was in middle school.
Yeah.
That would also line up
Yeah.
for me.
And like that was like the first major web series to feature the Slender Man, really, that got popular.
Yeah.
And actually, I think 2020, I believe, they started making comics. And I ended up reading the first 3. I don't know if they've come out with more since then, but they're still good.
Nice. That's great.
They experiment to get into Marble Hornets spoilers a little bit. They experimented with the idea about the main character is Jessica, who is one of the 2 people to like walk away from the Marble Hornets incident. The other one being Tim, but we haven't seen Tim in the comics yet. But Jessica is getting visions of another proxy called Smiley, which people at first thought was what's the main character's name of Marble Hornets? Troy, I think, or that might just be his real name. Either way, would be Troy being under the influence of the Slender Man, but apparently it's like everyone amalgamated into one.
Oh, so
it's like
Trepe.
Troy. Yeah, it's Trepe.
Okay. I get this now. Makes perfect
Yeah,
sense
yeah.
to me now.
Yeah, it makes it's like Trepe. Hello.
The scary thing is I didn't hear the phone ring.
It's a ghost phone.
Well, anyways, before we're completely derailed, Lucas, why don't we go on to your second story? So if you would...
Okay. So this one is a little longer. I'll try and see if I can kind of X-nay a few things, but I was like
You don't have to.
fascinated
This is
reading
my
it.
stream. If it's
Oh,
all
okay.
the story, you're fine.
Okay. And I to preface this one, I personally I've always had like a fear or just this feeling of dread, like looking out into a deep forest. Like you're standing on the outskirts of it and you're just looking into it, especially at night. I always just, and even like driving on a road at night and I'm like in a foresty like part and I can see forest on the side. It's just there's something about it that has always like unnerved me a little bit. Ow! What the hell? I got a notification on you that hurt.
Sorry.
It's okay. But so this one, I read and I'm like, yeah, this is like a nightmare for me. So this is my other one, and this was the Reddit post I found. I think it was like on Our Paranormal by user Wispified. So I want to just credit him. Our bizarre experiences with the forest behind our house eventually forced us to move. So let's
I'm
everyone
interested.
strap in. Yeah, everyone strap in, and let's get a move on. I was 8 years old. I was 8 year old. My fuck.
Wonderful start.
I'm so scared of this grunt.
Wonderful
You can't
start.
pronounce things.
I was 8 years old when we first moved into the house on the edge of the forest. My parents had their doubts about buying a house with a backyard bordered by a forest. They had concerns about wild animals getting into our bins or hurting our dogs. And we were worried one of us might go out too far into the trees and get lost. But it was cheap. My dad liked the seclusion, my mom loved the house itself, and my siblings and I were excited about playing in the backyard and exploring the forest. Our first sign that something wasn't right was that our dogs were absolutely terrified of the forest. They never went into the forest for any reason. If a toy they had been playing with was found its way past the tree line, they would refuse to retrieve it. And when one of us went in, they would pace anxiously until we returned. On occasion, we'd notice the dogs staring at a spot in the forest in obvious distress, sometimes growling or barking. But we could never see anything there. My brother once carried one of the dogs into the trees to show her that there was nothing scary about it, but she wriggled out of his grip and sprinted into the house in a panic. If we were in the backyard when it was getting dark, we sometimes heard noises like someone was walking through the forest, sticks crunching underfoot, branches being pushed aside, which, in all fairness, that is kind of normal for a forest. If we called out, there was no response, but if we shined a flashlight around, we would occasionally catch a glimpse for just a split second of something that we could swear looked like a person walking around in the dark. My parents quickly banned us from entering the forest at all after dark, and even during the day, we weren't allowed to go out of sight of the house. My sister's bedroom looked out to the backyard and the forest beyond, and she remembers looking out of her window one night and seeing a shadowy figure standing right at the edge of the backyard. She says there was something wrong with it. Like, it wasn't quite standing on the ground, and it was a little too tall to be a person, and it was sort of distorted. She was convinced it was staring at her. She called out for our dad, saying that there was a man in the yard staring through her window, and when he ran outside to chase off whoever it was, she continued to watch the figure. It didn't move, but when the light from our dad's flashlight passed over it, it suddenly just wasn't there anymore. We regularly heard knocking at the back door at night, with no one there. Our parents thought it was teenagers playing pranks and stopped bothering even opening the door, until one rainy night when the knocking was persistent and agitated. My mom pointed out that there might be someone needing shelter from the heavy rain outside, but when she opened the door, not only was there no one there, but there were no wet footprints on the porch. The knocking continued the whole time we lived there. It would happen several times in the span of a few weeks, and then stop for months, and then start up again. My parents eventually installed a security camera, and there was never anyone at the door. The camera wasn't all useless, though. About 3 years into living there, my brother started having night terrors and sleepwalking. When he went sleepwalking, he would always go out to the back door and start walking towards the forest. My mom, being a light sleeper, would hear the door open and would run out to get him before he made it into the forest. After the third or fourth time it happened, my brother asked to see the camera footage because he wanted to see how he looked when he was sleepwalking. I guess he'd be thinking it looked funny. The footage showed him walking onto the porch, then pausing as if listening to something, and shaking his head, then reluctantly walking forward as if he was being pulled or forcefully guided by something. One evening, my dad was in the backyard, and he heard my sister calling him from the forest, seemingly in distress. Thinking she'd gone exploring the forest and fallen over and hurt herself, he ran in and started calling to her, but quickly realized it was too dark to see her, and he couldn't pinpoint where her voice was coming from. He told her to wait where she was while he grabbed a flashlight. When he ran back into the house for the flashlight, he saw my sister inside, safe and completely unconcerned. At the time, my dad hasn't told us about hearing my sister's voice in the forest, so when I heard my mom's voice coming from the forest months later, while I was outside with the dogs one evening, I didn't question it, despite the fact that I had seen my mom recently inside and hadn't noticed her walk past me. My mom was calling to me, saying she gotten her sweater caught in branches and needed me to come and help her. As I walked, my dog started barking, alerting my dad, who saw me through the window wandering to the forest. He came outside and called to me, and I said I was just helping Mom. He yelled back that Mom was inside and I needed to run back to the house as fast as I could, which I did. After this, my parents had a fence built around the backyard and started looking for a new place. In the time between the fence being built and us moving out, it got way worse. We'd hear knocking at the door more regularly, as well as tapping on the windows, as if someone was walking the perimeter of the house and trying every window. We would often hear scratching and scraping sounds on the fence and voices beyond it. My brother's night terrors got more frequent, and one night, my mom didn't hear the door open when he went sleepwalking, and he woke up standing at the fence, staring into the forest with the dogs barking at him. The last morning we spent there, less than 4 years after he moved in, we woke up to find the back door fully open, and the security camera footage showed it slowly swing open on its own. Since moving out, my brother's sleepwalking had stopped, though he still gets night terrors and suffers from pretty severe anxiety. A few nights ago, he called me out of the blue. After a bit of small talk, he asked if I think the door being opened that final night means that whatever was out there finally got in. He was trying to make light of it, saying he was getting into the spirit of Halloween, joking how maybe we should all get exercise just in case something latched onto us all those years ago. But I think he's deeply bothered by everything that happened. I know I still am a little. I still get nervous around dark wooded areas. I don't know what I think was out there in the forest behind us at night, but I get that feeling that given the chance, it would have swallowed us whole. And that's the conclusion to that one. Yeah.
Oh, my mic is muted.
Yeah.
Not to dampen the mood on this, but, this is a genuinely creepy story. I think it was squirrels.
Squirrels!
I gotta tell you something right now, man. Adam's being real here for a fucking moment. Fuck, and chipmunks. I'm not being racist here. It could be chipmunks too. Fucking squirrels in the middle of the night, anywhere in the middle of the woods, running about on trees or rustling about or even on top of your ceiling.
True.
They make one hell of a lot of racket.
Yeah.
And they're so tiny. No. All jokes aside. This is the one that you said you got off of Reddit, correct?
Yeah.
I think I'm going to have to agree with Tommy here. I don't think this is real.
I think you might be right too, but I still think it was interesting enough to bring up.
Because there's elements in this where I go, I can see that.
Yeah.
The woods are terrifying, guys.
Yeah.
The woods are fucking terrifying. You're talking about a guy that, he likes to hike and everything like that. I don't like being in the woods at night. I don't.
Yeah.
At least
No
alone.
way.
At least alone.
Fuck that.
So there's something interesting. The fact that he said he heard his mother's voice coming from the woods.
Yeah, and previously the father heard the daughter.
That reminds me of something I was watching recently. Actually, I was screening it on the 4th New Jersey servers, the War of Rights group that I'm with, and it was a Hammer movie. Peter Cushing's in it, called The Abominable Snowman. It was one of the first movies dedicated to the Yeti. And one of the things that happens in that film is that the Yetis will they telepathically will send the screams or like the calls for help from people that they know. So it's really creepy because in that film, to be clear, you only see the Yeti twice, and it's a beautifully done movie. Because it's all atmosphere. Genuinely great atmosphere. I highly recommend this movie. I'd love to do a video on it. Because Jesus Christ, is it an atmospheric movie. Like on par with the Universal movies, hands down. And the fact all of a sudden they'll be settling down or they just had something crazy happen to them. Suddenly they'll hear their best friend screaming way off in the distance for help.
Yeah. And
I'm like, this is stuff. You want to know another movie that I think really captured that very well? The Blair Witch Project.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah. That was.
Damn anyone who says that that's a bad movie.
I know. Damn anyone who even says that's a boring movie. I'm like, this movie is
Anyone who says
horrifying.
Either one of those about the Blair Witch is just wrong.
Yes.
They're just straight up wrong.
Yeah. It's so scary. It's so terrifying.
When found footage is done right, it can be amazing.
I really don't think found footage has ever been as effective as it was within the Blair Witch Project. I really don't.
Oh, no.
The only other movie that I think kind of comes close to that, believe it or not, is Cannibal Holocaust.
Yep, say it. I was about to say it, Adam. Say it.
Yeah. Oh, that was the movie you were going to say too? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I have not seen that movie, but
Oh, it's a bummer.
I was thinking Cloverfield is also really good with it.
Even Cloverfield, as much as I love Cloverfield as a kaiju fanatic and everything like it, that has moments in it where I'm like, this is a movie.
That's true.
In fact, it has
You're right.
several moments in that where I'm like, this is a movie with
Yeah.
a plot that, you know, they're trying to save the girl and everything like that. What's so beautiful
Yeah.
about the Blair Witch Project is that's not there.
Is that? Yeah, it's just stuff happening.
It's just a bunch
And
of student filmmakers going out in the woods and getting plagued by this thing.
Yeah.
And that's what's so
like-
great about it.
What I really like about Blair Witch is that you can watch it in two different ways and you get just as an enriching experience from either way, but a different experience as well. You can either watch it as these are just three idiot teenage filmmakers that have gone into the woods and then got themselves killed by either an entity or something pretending to be an entity. Either way, they get killed. But the second interesting way to go about it is watching it as a murder plot where the camera person is the victim and the other two are trying to kill her. And it's just an overly
yes, I heard
complicated
about
murder
this
plot.
theory.
Ooh.
Do I buy it? No.
There's
plenty of evidence to suggest that
there's
that
plenty
there is.
of evidence. I'm saying that
But you're right.
I don't believe that they did that as an intentional, like, this is the real story. I think they did it in a way of, like, it could be both. And they let whoever watches decide which it could be.
Now, I remember... You know what? I take that back. There's another found footage movie that I think did it almost as well. Like, almost on par as the Blair Witch Project. And don't laugh at me. The first Paranormal Activity movie.
No,
The first one.
I still have to finish.
It was... I watched... That was one of the first movies that my parents were over at my Aunt Ree's house, and I was home alone watching that film. Just by myself, all the lights off. Scared me so bad.
Adam, I don't think that's silly at all. I agree with you.
It
on that one,
scared me
actually.
so bad.
Yeah.
I think the first Paranormal Activity deserves the respect it got, and like, I also do want to really quick go back to Cloverfield really quick because while it definitely a movie. I can tell where you're coming from, where it's like it's a movie, but at the same time, I personally could at least buy the found footage aspect to it, for the most part. Of like the character of HUD is like, yeah, this character would totally do this. He would be filming this at the time. They pretty much established that's the kind of character he is. The thing that takes me out for Cloverfield, and like I'm saying this for the record, as someone who loves this is like one of my favorite movies of all time, is that the thing that takes me out is it is supposed to be in New York City. It is supposed to be in New York City. So watching it, I'm like, yeah, this ain't happening. This ain't real.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's still a great watch, and it's still I can never not recommend that movie.
Well,
if you found
and again,
footage fans.
me saying what I did, I want to be clear. I love that movie.
Oh, I know.
You know, and again, seeing that in theaters was a wonderful experience. But I think Cannibal Holocaust did it better than Paranormal Activity. I think because that movie. Oh, Cannibal Holocaust, which I've done an entire review about it. If anybody wants to listen to it. And by the way, that review was completely 100% unscripted and done right after I got done watching the movie for the first time.
Yeah.
And
That's sick.
as horrible of a movie as that is, it's also utterly amazing. It is a masterpiece.
Yeah. It's
so
there's
good.
there's just something about it.
Yeah.
There's just something about it that sticks with you.
Yeah.
I still have yet to watch it.
I'll have a movie night. We're gonna watch Cannibal Holocaust. There's that movie, Cannibal Holocaust and Deliverance and The Devil's Rejects are the three movies that I watch where it's like I have to take a shower now. Yeah.
Devil's Rejects. That's Rob Zombie,
Yep.
right?
Yep. That movie's so good. Yeah, that's the one movie Rob Zombie made where I can sit down and be like, that was genuinely a good movie.
That is, I think, my dad's favorite movie is The Devil's Rejects.
I can see why. I really can.
Yeah.
It's a really good character piece, and it's disturbing as fuck. But anyways, yeah. So there's elements of the story that you told, Lucas, that are genuinely creepy. And you know, some of what you were talking about actually kind of reminds me of some of the stories I'd read about on like Civil War battlefields. where it's just like
Really?
all of this weird ghostly. And first off, like if there's ever a place that deserves to be haunted and I can see it being haunted, and where there's actual ghosts there, because I'm a really big skeptic on that stuff, but it would be a battlefield. Where it's just like look at Gettysburg, for example. I mean, you watched the movie with me, Antonio. That was such a big thing here. I mean, 50,000 people, 50,000 casualties within 3 days on this one battlefield. And
I actually went ghost hunting in Gettysburg.
Oh yes, I forgot you told me about that. Yeah. I personally don't like any of that stuff. If you're gonna go ghost hunting, you know, we can get this onto that later. After we do these stories, but I think there's elements within the story that you told, Lucas, where I'm like, if that was it alone, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
You know, but with everything adding up, it was a little. It especially it just being, and I know Tommy says it's on Reddit, that immediately discredits it. Not necessarily.
No, not necessarily.
Because there's plenty of people that use Reddit and like 4chan to vent. To be like, no one's going to believe me anywhere else.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
And there is some credit to that. But I love this stuff.
The thing I find fascinating about that kind of thing, though, that it's like where things could be fake, is that it also introduces this element of like, you don't know which one's real.
This is true.
Which is almost more mystifying and terrifying at the same time.
I think what this story specifically, like, why it resonated so well with me was, one, the whole forest thing is that, like, that's literally just, like, a nightmare for me of just, like, looking out into a forest and maybe seeing something, maybe seeing something, but not sure. But then adding on to, like the whole knocking aspect to it, and also, like, the final day where it's, like, apparently the door swung open by itself and was left open and they couldn't even figure out why. There's little things about it, this one, that really stuck out to me that was like, yeah, no, this is skeeving me out a little bit. So
yeah, it's a scary story. It's a scary ghost story, you know. And we all love to be scared. If we didn't love to be scared, horror would not be a genre.
And this one too. What I liked about this one too is that it's not like a ghost story in the sense of like it's the wall suddenly says murder or shit like that. It's
yes.
It's oddly subtle, and that's what
you're
I like
absolutely correct in that. And it's always the subtle things. Like, I don't know, there's a movie out there called The Vavitch or The Witch.
That's by
that dude
who did The Lighthouse.
Yes, Which The Lighthouse, by the way, I think is one of the funniest movies ever made, and I think it was done on purpose. But
I think it's a great movie.
Yeah. But the Witch is the definition of subtle. Yeah. And the subtle horror building, and it's beautiful because of it. And it's always the subtle stuff that scares me more. Like a lot of people laugh at the Exorcist now, saying like people thought this was the scariest movie of all time. I still think it's one of the scariest movies of all time, yes, because of the amount of subtle stuff that happens in that movie that you don't notice on your first viewing. You know, it's that stuff that I love.
I also think for horror that I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Having that mindset, I think it's really bad. In the sense of like saying it's like, oh, something from this era is not scary to me in the future that was in the past. I think sensibilities were different, and I think that's disrespectful to the piece that's being made. That's why when people like say that about like the Universal monster movies that they're not scary, I'm like, but even then that's still a little disrespectful to the actual piece itself.
Well, yeah, back then it was terrifying.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the. Admittedly, I'm more of a Hammer horror guy than I am a Universal horror guy, just because I love Hammer. But those movies were groundbreaking and shocking and violent. Like the fact that the blood was in color and it was being splattered and there was women's cleavage in it. Like that was all huge back then. And that got it an X rating. You know. Also, like the monster designs are insane. Fantastic. I still think the Gill Man is probably my favorite. Out of them.
Creature is my favorite Universal monster movie. It's my favorite Universal monster. I've always loved Creature, and I still.
Well, the Gill Man almost doesn't look like a guy in a suit.
Yeah,
it's the makeup and the how tight that suit. That's the big thing, because you know with Godzilla and stuff like that, Godzilla's bulky, you know, and so a lot of times. And this is just a limitation of suitmation, You can see some of the skin fold and wrinkle in places where it's not really supposed to, and that usually gives it away that it's a guy in a suit almost immediately. But with the Gill Man, it was so freakishly skin tight that you didn't get those folds. And it's so convincing. Like as much as I love the Wolfman, as much as I freaking adore the Wolfman, that's Lon Chaney Jr. in makeup.
Well, yeah.
You know, there's always that sort of disconnect and everything like that. But God, the Gill Man was so good. And you know, just the performance alone for Boris Karloff as Frankenstein in the original Frankenstein makes you forget quickly how cheesy the makeup is. It's kind of like the Planet of the Apes movies, the original Planet of the Apes movies. The performances behind the ape makeup, particularly in the eyes, is so good, you forget that they're wearing rubber ape masks. You know, and that goes a long way. It really does. I would need to address some of these comments. God damn it.
I was about to say, I like Tommy's question. I think we should answer it. What is y'all's scariest movie you have ever seen?
Which one is? What was it? The scariest movie I've ever seen?
Yeah.
That's tough. That's a hard one to answer, for me at least.
I can tell you what movie has made me the most uncomfortable, even though I have to say it's not a perfect movie. I did not like the ending, but just the feeling of dread and sorrow and just awful, like the entire way through.
Well, you got to tell us, Antonio.
Yeah, what is
It is Hereditary.
Great movie.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good one.
That's such a good movie. It's so good.
You didn't like the ending?
I thought it was a bit much.
Fair. I'll give you that. I personally think it fit the story, but
having it be don't get me wrong, having it be a giant Rosemary's Baby reference was cool and all, but like having her like crawl on the fucking ceiling like that was a bit much.
Well, I will mention for that scene specifically, it's not that what freaked me out. It's actually like the lead up to it, because it does a great scare in that movie where it's the kids in the room and you don't realize she's in the background and she just quietly moves briefly, and like that made me jump so fucking hard. Like it made me, there's no sound. He's just sitting there, you just see her slightly move. I'm like, she blends so well in the background in that scene, and like it's, my God, that scene's fucking great.
But like everything with the mom, like from the spoilers, from the moment that the girl dies to when the mom becomes a demon, it's just so amazingly done.
Yeah, which in general, when the little girl gets killed, that pause is so fucking real. After like how long that scene holds on for is.
Well, that goes into the uncomfortableness of the whole thing. Yeah. It lingers for so long, and the anticipation behind that entire thing, because you know something's coming. You know, and you'll laugh at this, but Antonio, you and Steve watched Zulu with me, and I said one of the things that really makes this movie work is that the entire first half of that movie is just a giant build up to when the Zulus arrive, and they're constantly saying, here they're going to kill us, and they constantly give reasons how they're going to kill us, and all of a sudden we just hear them marching alone in the distance without seeing them. We just hear them marching alone, and I'm like, that goes into the anticipation thing, and I love how anticipation can really be used in a horror setting more than anything else. I've got one. I think the scariest movie I've ever seen that always comes to mind, that always freaked me out as many times as I watched it. I'll say one that was for me as a child. War of the Gargantua scared the fuck out of me when I was a kid. But yes, I agree with you there, Justin. However, there's a movie that was made as a knockoff of Paranormal Activity called The Fourth Kind.
Oh yeah,
that scared me so bad when I was younger and watching it. I mean, now I see all the tricks, don't get me wrong, but back then it genuinely freaked me out. I think Cannibal Holocaust is right up there for just creepy and unnerving movie. I also want to give a shout out to Dario Argento's Suspiria. John Selecchia, if you're still watching, I introduced you to Suspiria, sir, and you loved it. But that's a movie that just overloads your senses, and you watch the film, and it doesn't make any logical sense because you are living a nightmare. Yeah. And I love it so much. But yeah,
for me, and I swear I'm not saying this as a cop-out during this, but like really, I'm not joking when I say Cannibal Holocaust has sat with me for years. Since I watched it. It has sat with me, and I still think about it in that damn fucking main theme.
Oh,
if that even pops into my head slightly, just some slight hairs will perk up a little
creepy.
bit. Yeah, it's such a peaceful song. It's peaceful, but then it's like when you know the context, and then at the end of the movie they basically do like a return to it. It's like, oh my fucking god.
Yes.
It's like this is too much.
It is it's an unnerving movie and stuff like that.
Another one for me though is I'll put it here too, because unfortunately I first experienced this movie through the American remake, which is a fine enough version of this movie, but I think no, not The Grudge. That is a good one. That's a good one. Wreck.
Oh,
Wreck? Really?
Yeah, Wreck was adapted in America called To Quarantine, where it was about a movie where these people are in a building, they're in a hotel building that gets suddenly barricaded and locked down because they find out there's a contagion going around that's basically infecting people, making them hyper aggressive and stuff like that. And I think the original version is Spanish.
Yes, it is. Now you're talking about that one scaring you more, right? The Spanish one, because I agree with you. The Spanish one is terrifying.
Yes.
Yeah.
I watched Quarantine first because I didn't know
it
was based on that at first. But then when I branched out, I'm like, oh, this is even worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
This is even worse.
Yeah.
In a good way.
It's like Ring, by the way. Ring. You know, I love the American version with Naomi Watts. Ring was great. And the guy who directed Ring directed the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy, the first one.
Oh.
Gore Videvsky. And I love the American versions, but then you watch the two Japanese movies. They don't even hold a candle to those, you know.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the Japanese ones are.
I also this is a really weird. It's not even a movie per se, but and I think I've shared this on a stream before, Adam, with you. So I apologize for hearing this again. When I was working in a movie theater, we had Paranormal Activity. It was like the Ghost Dimension. It was like the last one, but that movie, and it was probably dog shit, but that movie did one thing that honestly still resonates with me a little bit during its credits. Its credits, like the finale of the movie happens, and then like it cuts to the credits and the credits play. All that's playing during the credits is like a low hum, borderline white noise.
Yeah.
And that got to me a lot when I was in a theater by myself and I was cleaning. That would get to me.
Be careful, Antonio. You're on camera.
Dude, I don't even know what happened.
Anyways, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Oh, I'm sorry, it was 9:30.
Was it 9:30? Oh my god, I gotta tell my story, guys.
Oh.
I do want to address your guys' comments again. Keep commenting. You guys are doing a great job.
Even keep asking questions.
Keep asking questions because I want to circle back to these. I want to circle back to these really bad. This is the annual Halloween stream. We only get one of these a year, so I want to tell my story.
Tell your fucking story. Tell your story, Adam. I want to hear it.
Hello. So this story is actually the one that I want to turn into a short story. Actually, this is the one that I actually want to convert it into a piece of fiction kind of thing. So this is called the Ben Fish Case. What a title.
Fish?
So this happened on March 7th, 1975. So again, this is quite a while ago.
Hello, I'd like to call the gross police.
We're done. That's the story. Anyways,
Wow.
So Mark Hansen and two friends from college decide they want to go from a hike. The other two friends' name are Ben Fish and John Chidester. I don't know how to pronounce it, but I think it's something like Chidester or something along those lines. Anyways, Ben and John. That's all we need to know. So they arrive at a parking lot on the eastern side of the Appalachian Mountain Trail. They want to go for a hike. Now, these three men are in amazing shape, and they are experienced hikers. They've done lots of hiking before and everything like that. So the trail that they chose was known to be challenging. They wanted to challenge themselves, and they looked at it as such. So they noticed that the weather up ahead of them, it looked like it was going to rain, and a storm might be coming, but they decide to push forward anyways, seeing it as a part of the challenge. And I understand that mentality. You know, you conquered one thing, now you got to push it a little bit further to try to conquer another thing. That's a lot of hikers tend to go through that. The one reason why Mount Everest is so popular. And so they decide to push forward despite the rain and everything like that. So they actually, if anything, they actually got more excited when they saw that a storm was coming. They're like, yeah, we're going to hike a mountain in the storm. You know, I could kind of like frat boys in some ways, you know. But anyway, so they actually got more excited when they started seeing the storm, and it starts pouring out. But they just keep going. They keep hiking. So they wound up hiking all day until their goal was to hike all day until reaching what was called the Tri-Corner Shelter. Now, this was one of dozens of shelters that go throughout the Appalachian Trails. For people such as Mark, Ben, and John to essentially just camp there overnight. There's no electricity, there's no water, or there's no heat, but it's a shelter that you can stay in overnight and stay out of the elements. And there's lots of them on the Appalachian Mountain Trail. So, to get to the shelter, they needed to hike over 16 miles in steep, rugged terrain. Which, again, 16 miles on a map is not 16 miles on a mountain. It can be a lot longer than that. But then again, they were all for this. They wanted to go. This was part of the challenge for them, was to get there before the day ended. And to make it more challenging, the rain was slowly changing to snow. So they just kept on going. They brought warm clothing. They brought warm stuff. They kind of prepared for this, so they just kept on moving. So a couple miles in, the weather just kept getting worse, and John admits what most people would have admitted at this point. This sucks. We should turn around. But the other guys, they agreed that it sucked, but that was a part of the challenge, and they wanted to keep going. So Mark and Ben were 100% committed to continuing, but John said, nope, I'm turning around and heading back for my car. So he did. That John turns around and he leaves Mark and Ben alone. But that actually pumped Mark and Ben up even more to keep going. Like, they were strong enough to keep going, but John wasn't. You know, it was, again, this is a total kind of like frat boy kind of situation. Even though they're a little bit more mature than that. Don't get me wrong. I think that's not the right term for them, but it kind of reminds me of that. But they keep on hiking as the weather slowly got worse. So Ben is leading, and he handles this rough weather and terrain much better than Mark. Mark is actually falling behind, and eventually it gets so bad, Mark says that he needs to take off his backpack. Now, hiking backpacks are heavy. They are designed to hold a lot. You're supposed to put as much in there as possible. They are everything you need to survive out in the wilderness needs to be put into your hiking backpack. And Ben knows that if Mark ditches his backpack, that's a terrible idea. If Mark takes off his backpack, it's basically a death sentence. With these low temperatures, it's snowing out, you're not going to survive, bud. And you know, Mark would freeze to death, if nothing else, you know. So he needed to keep his backpack. So Mark relents and keeps his backpack on, much to Ben's relief. And they continue slowly trudging through what is now essentially turned into a snow blizzard. It has turned into a blizzard, and they're high up in the mountains, and there's no civilization for miles upon miles around. So roughly an hour later, it has now turned 7 p.m. It's dark out, and they reach a part where they know they're a little over halfway to the Tri-Corner Shelter. So Mark is still struggling, but Ben is actually doing a good job at actually keeping Mark going, keeping his chin up, being kind of like a cheerleader. But it's just getting worse and worse and colder and colder and colder up there. So Ben begins to second guess himself, which is bad. That's really bad. He begins second guessing himself. As they keep going, he's like, did I take a wrong turn? they should be close to the shelter by now, but yet it seems like it's never coming, which, by the way, I can totally relate to that as somebody who climbed a mountain not too long ago. But it's like, it should be close to now. Did I take a wrong turn? Am I on a wrong trail? Well, eventually, Ben hears Mark in the distance saying, "I'm done." Mark has made up his mind. He can't keep moving. His body is too tired. He is too worn. He is too cold. He can't keep going. He was going to take out his sleeping bag and weather out the storm right there in the center of the trail. Now, this scares Ben, as it should, because it's, while not quite a death sentence, it's pretty close to one. And the temperatures they just keep dropping, and he desperately tries to get Ben desperately tries to get Mark up, to keep him moving, but Mark refuses. The worst thing you can do when you're really cold is to stop moving, because your body is telling you to stop moving, because it's dying. Your body is telling you to stop moving. You have to keep moving, and stuff like that. But anyways, so Mark relents and plants... Mark relents and he plants himself down pretty close to Ben. He says, Ben's not moving. I'm going to plant myself really close to him. And they both get into their sleeping bags and hunker down for the night. At least they are in the middle of the trail. They know they're not lost. They are in the middle of a trail. And I want to emphasize that right now, is they were not lost. They knew roughly where they were, and they knew they were still on the trail. Because even if you look at pictures of what trail they're on, it's so clearly a trail, because it's a clear path and then trees on either side, like a clear rutted path with rocks on the side. It's clearly marked. They know they're on this trail. What he's questioning is, did I go on the wrong trail? Am I looking at the wrong thing? So at least they're on a trail, right? So essentially, it turns out that tri-corner shelter that they were actually hiking to wasn't even a mile away. In fact, it was only a few hundred feet away. But again, remember, it's snowing out like mad. It's dark out. It's freezing. You have no idea, And all they had to do, essentially, was to keep moving just a little bit further, and that shelter would have been right there. In fact, there were 2 other hikers camping out in that shelter at the time.
Yeah.
Regardless, Ben begins to fall asleep, and this is when he recalls an absolutely vivid nightmare. He recalls hearing Mark screaming to the top of his lungs, begging for Ben to save him. And Ben sees Mark being dragged off in his sleeping bag, off the trail, and into the woods. Ben is so frightened by this nightmare, he wakes up, and he frantically starts looking around. He sees Mark's backpack is still there, where it had been put down earlier, and he knows that Mark is just on the other side of it, and he figures Mark would still be there too. So he goes back to sleep the best he can during the snowstorm. So the next morning comes, Ben wakes up, Mark is gone. He starts panicking, and there's no way to know where Mark had gone off to because it had snowed. The snow easily filled any tracks made the previous night, and so it was worse than taking a shot in the dark. He could have gone off in any direction. Suddenly, Ben realizes that dream had not been a dream at all. What he had heard and watched was his friend being dragged off by something into the woods. Something horrible had happened to Mark. That, and if this had really happened, this is what kills Ben the most. Ben didn't do anything to help save his friend. Despite hearing Mark calling out for him, he didn't do anything. So he immediately does the right thing. And that says, I need to get authorities involved. This is above my head. I need to get experts involved. So he leaves Mark's bag where it is. He doesn't take it with him. He leaves Mark's bag where he disappeared. Let's see. And that's because he thinks it would be a good marker for not only authorities to begin searching for him, but he also had an inkling that maybe Mark was just gone for a little bit, and if he came back, his stuff would still be there. So he was going to leave it. So later on, after this was done, Ben finds those 2 hikers that are hiding in Tricorn Shelter. He finds it, he gets in there, and he says what's happened. And one of those hikers runs down to base camp, or down to the bottom of the mountain. Again, that's 16 miles away. And basically says, hey, he calls the authorities, we got a missing hiker on our hands. So the police come to the area where Mark last saw Ben, and they begin their search. Mark's bag is left alone, and it has everything in it. What's in that is a tent, food, a knife, water, stuff you need to survive. It has everything in there. It hasn't been touched. And this helps rule out, a robbery, if anything like that, any mischief like that. But that also raised a question. If everything is there in the bag, why didn't Mark take anything with him when he was running away? Why didn't any of this happen? So hypothermia was immediately thrown out, because hypothermia makes you do weird things. Mark might have thought that his body was overheating, when in reality it wasn't. He had become delusional. His body was actually so cold it made it feel like he was hot. So maybe he just left all of his stuff there and just ran off into the woods. But Ben keeps thinking that nightmare he had was real. For the next few days, searchers comb the entire area and find nothing. There's no sign of Ben anywhere. However, some park rangers discover this huge cave that wasn't that far from where Mark had gone missing. Inside this cave, it is clear that a large, undisclosed mammal had been reported sleeping there. At the time when they started investigating the cave, whatever animal it was, wasn't there. So it wasn't like they were trying to hide what animal it was. They just didn't know what animal was in there. They just knew it was a predatory it was some sort of mammal, and that it was predatory because what they found in there were a bunch of animal bones. Like they had eaten animals and dragged them into the cave and eaten them. And it begins being speculated that whatever was in that cave grabbed Mark that night. On the 9th day of the search, Mark's body is discovered 3 miles off the trail. It was propped up against a tree with his jacket open. His boots and gloves were also off, which in itself is an odd detail, and they were neatly placed directly next to him. And to me, this screams hypothermia. He was getting hot, and he was taking off the clothing and setting it down beside him, even though the opposite was happening. He was freezing to death. So the doctors performed an autopsy and concluded that Mark probably died within 24 to 36 hours after he went missing, which is an interesting point, because that means he would have been running around while the authorities were searching for him. And yet they found nothing that close to the trailhead. No signs at all. So why did Mark decide to get up, say nothing to Ben, and then walk in a random direction for 3 miles? They were clear. Again, I want to reemphasize, they were clearly on a marked trail. There's no way you can mistake it. They were not lost. Ben knew roughly where they were in relation to the Tricorner Shelter. You look at the trail, it's clearly marked. But even if something made Mark get off the trail just a few hours earlier, he's the reason why they had to stop there. He couldn't walk. He was exhausted. He was the reason why Ben and Mark had to sit down and camp there for the night when Tricorner Shelter wasn't that far away. You mean to tell me that suddenly he could get up and start running within just a few hours? What happened here? So, Mark jumping up and running off wildly just doesn't make that much sense. That and Ben's dream suddenly adds up, and what Ben had dreamed was not actually a dream at all. He was actually watching his friend being dragged away by something into the woods while he was still in his sleeping bag. And something scared Mark and forced him to run in pure panic off the trail 3 miles into the woods during a snowstorm. But the investigation stopped once the body was found, and we will never know what scared Mark so bad that he screamed for help and was possibly dragged off the trail. We'll never know. because the investigation just stopped. And anyways, that is my second story. And personally, if I could get into what I think it was, personally, I think it was a bear.
That's kind of what I was.
Yeah, most likely.
I think it was a bear that saw that he was easy prey. I think, by the way, I think that bear could have easily have gone after Ben. I think that easily could have gone after him, or the other guy, I should say. It just happened to choose him. It just happened to choose that guy because maybe he was a little closer or something. And I think what happened is the bear actually did drag. I think what who had the nightmare? Forgive me.
It was Ben.
Yeah, Ben. I think Ben actually did see Mark getting dragged away in a sleeping bag, screaming for help and everything like that. But I think somehow Mark got out of the sleeping bag because they never found that sleeping bag.
Hmm.
So I think Mark somehow got out of that sleeping bag after being dragged a ways, ran for his life for 3 or so miles, and succumbed to hypothermia.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. It just seemed like a culmination of like everything that was possibly hinted at. Like,
but how fucking terrifying is that?
that's
that's the word, especially
That's rough.
since like he saw it happen.
Mm-hmm. And you can tell by the interviews of Ben, and just in the stuff within Dave Paulides' book, he feels so guilty because he didn't do anything to help his friend. And I'm like, I know, and it's not like he's being irrational about it. He knows he thought he was having a nightmare. He knows that he wasn't really awake when that happened. It was almost like it was so weird. You're in this weird state. Plus, you're so cold. Your brain is playing tricks on you, anyways.
Yeah, so you don't even know what's going
No,
on.
he didn't really know what was going on. You can barely see 2 feet in front of you because of how windy and snowy it is. But that's what I think what happened. I don't think this is Bigfoot or anything like that. I think it was.
I was about to joke about it being Bigfoot.
I think it was a bear, a very hungry bear, or
I think
it could have been a
lines up to
mountain
that,
lion too. It could have been a mountain lion.
Yeah.
But a mountain lion might actually make a little more sense because bears don't like to usually do this during the winter. Usually they're pretty hibernated by then. And plus, this is the Appalachian Trail. It wouldn't be a grizzly bear. It would be a black bear, like what I shot.
You could have
sick
saved Mark's life.
I could have saved Mark's life. Yeah, that's what it was all saying. But in fact, I bet you. You know what? Now that I'm thinking of it, because I was looking at it like it was a grizzly bear, but it wouldn't be. It would be a black bear.
Now, I have a question. When does the gorilla show up?
Anyways, that was mine. Yeah. I don't think... No, a bear didn't maul him, Tommy. Because he was leaning against a tree with his jacket open and his boots and gloves neatly folded beside him. He was not mauled.
Yeah, no. Maybe he was about to be, but maybe he
No,
got
I
away.
think he got out of the sleeping bag. I think what happened was, whatever it was, be it a mountain lion or a bear, I'm still going to lean more towards a bear because the bear will drag.
Yeah.
The bear just grabbed a hold of the sleeping bag, which gave Mark the ability to quickly get out of the sleeping bag and free himself.
And then in a panic, ran off into whatever direction he could.
Yeah.
That exhausted his body, and then that probably set in the hypothermia, which would kick that into it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I think too. I'm with you on that one.
No, Tommy, you're wrong. I don't know how else to say he was not mauled by a bear. If you were mauled by a bear, you would have had claw marks all throughout you.
Yeah.
He didn't have any. No. He
Yeah,
succumbed
no.
to the cold. Anyway, yeah.
Definitely the hyperthermia that killed him.
And if it was, you know what, Master Video Studios, you bring up a good point. Let me actually bring that on the screen so I. If it was a hog, it would have been more than one hog. It would have been a bunch. You're absolutely right, because every time I shot hogs, there was always more than one of them. Yep. And before people say a hog wouldn't do that to a person, yes, they are. They eat meat. I don't care what anyone says. A boar will eat meat. So will a rabbit, by the way. Rabbits eat meat.
Oh boy. What a spooky dooky story.
Anyways, that's a terrifying story. That was the one that I really wanted to turn
Yeah,
into,
that's crazy.
because I think that would be a genuine... This is morbid, don't get me wrong, but I think that would make a good, short horror story of someone being out in the woods, and then this happens. You know?
You said that before, too, and, like, you could, even with the whole dream aspect of this, where he couldn't tell if it was a dream or not, you could play with that really well in a short film.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally, 100%.
You could play with that pretty well.
Well, anyways, that was my second story. So I guess it just leaves you, Antonio.
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. You.
What is your thing? We've had 13 viewers consistently for a while. I'm very happy with that.
Oh
hey,
yeah, baby.
yo!
All right.
Hell
Hey,
yeah.
everybody. All right. It's time to wrap yourself in. All right, so we're going to start at the beginning. So William Afton and Henry Emily decided... I'm sorry.
You little fucker.
That went so far over my head.
You see, they decided to create an animatronic family restaurant called Fredbear's Family Diner. There you go.
There you go.
Got it.
No, I have a real story. And this one's just plain creepy. Not even in the sense of like a mystery. No, this is just weird. And again, this is something that takes place right here on YouTube, because of course it does.
YouTube, the scariest platform.
Yeah, especially if you deep dive. So
Yeah, you get all the fart porn.
it all cake farts.
Cake farts.
I always called them a good.
actually one
I always
story,
called
it's
those
cake
a good butt flapper.
A good butt flapper. Tooting the old horn there. Anyway, so it all starts with one of the everyone's favorite show that should just fucking end and just hasn't ended and probably will never end. Family Guy.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So we've all seen the videos out there. Family Guy funny moments.
Oh.
Yep.
So there's a YouTube channel that I'm pretty sure is literally just called Family Guy Funny Moments. And it's exactly what you would expect. You know, you click on a video and you get a best of compilation of funny Family Guy clips, you know, as you usually see on YouTube. But rarely do people ever watch the whole thing when you click on one of these Family Guy funny moments. Usually you stay for maybe at most the first like 10 minutes, and then you click off and find something actually original to watch and not just a compilation of Family Guy clips. Well, on this particular YouTube channel, if you were to watch the Family Guy Funny Moments compilation all the way to the very end, you would see what seems to be home videos of underage girls.
I know this.
I heard about this too.
Yeah.
And no one knows why. People have speculated copyright protection, but that doesn't really make sense, because how would showing videos of a girl at the end of the video make Fox ignore the first, half hour of a video of just straight Family Guy clips with no editing whatsoever? Like, no, weird zoom-ins, no miscoloration, no audio, pitch ups or pitch downs. That's not how YouTube's copyright system works.
Yeah.
Knowing from personal experience. The second theory, which is way more disturbing, is that it is the second coming of what is known as Elsagate, which is a much more of an extreme example. But essentially, to catch everybody up on what Elsagate is, people would make videos that essentially would target children, usually would have like a phony movie title like Frozen 3 or Moana 2, and people would be like, there's not a Frozen 3, what's this? And then they click, and then in the comments, you would see comments from people pretending to be fake celebrities, and it's like usually like Jacob Sartorius or Justin Bieber, and they'd essentially be like, hey, do you want to talk to me? Text me at this number, and it would just be pedophiles luring in children. And that is a very real thing that happened on YouTube, and people were afraid that these Family Guy Funny Moments channels were trying to do the same thing. I think the investigation is still underway. There's still no conclusive answer as to why this is happening. But that's it.
That surprises me, considering the fact that they could easily trace this guy's IP address, find out where he is, what he's doing, and then just ask him.
Literally, yeah.
Or her. It could be a girl.
Yeah, whoever's
doing it.
It's just weird because it's just videos, like home videos of underage girls, sometimes in swimsuits. It's just plain odd.
Yeah, it was when I looked into it. I feel some YouTuber I watched like covered it, and like it was just very much in the sense of like, yeah, it felt like the whole like Elsagate thing that happened, and the whole copyright reason, like it's always proven copyright is bullshit. Is just that's not how YouTube works.
Right.
It's not at all how YouTube works. And I mean, I don't really have an answer. I hope it isn't that's the super morbid aspect of it's a bunch of pedos. Like I hope not. But the thing is, like, it kind of lines up.
Well, it
with
leans
the whole
that it leans in that direction for sure.
Yeah,
it's like really upsetting if that's the case.
Especially when you take into account that Family Guy's like main demographic is teenagers.
Yeah.
I feel like that could open up a huge can of worms, though. You know, this whole investigation. God, that's.
Did they say how recent of a channel it was?
It was like it was definitely within the last couple years.
Yeah, because I wonder if like that could be the case of like that specific one could be like almost someone trying to set up their own ARG or something or some shit like that.
But there's also no elements.
I know.
ARG
that's the one thing. That's the one thing that's like, yeah, no, that doesn't line up either.
It's like there's no codes, there's no links to follow, there's no like related YouTube channels. It's just footage of young girls.
Yeah, and it's questionable why that's even up in the first place on YouTube.
Is this still up on YouTube?
I know. I think once this got discovered, the person who had the YouTube channel made a mad dash and started cutting all of those parts out of the videos.
See, that's interesting. That is interesting.
Which is 100% like that's a cover up. That's a fucking cover up if I ever heard one.
That's interesting.
They want to get those views still because they didn't take the actual videos down.
Yeah, literally. They probably just used like the YouTube editor.
Yeah.
To just cut it, to trim off the end.
Yeah.
It's also just, it's so weird, right? Because like usually these videos will like repeat a sound clip, right? Like as their outro so that they could put like their channel logo and like a link to another video. It's weird seeing these young teenage girls and just having the background audio just be giggity 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 giggity.
Oh god.
Like that's no.
No.
Stop it. It was more than one channel. Ooh.
Ugh.
No way.
No.
Shit.
No, that doesn't sit right with me. That doesn't sit right with me at all.
No.
That's the real creep factor.
I'm the real creep factor? All right, thanks.
I didn't say that at all.
So there, ladies and gentlemen, Finally. 2 hours into the fucking stream. 6 scary stories.
That was the meat and potatoes. That was the meat and potatoes in all fairness.
Yeah.
Like-
Yeah. God, the internet has some weird shit on it.
Oh yeah.
Like I
The
love
internet's
the
not a pretty
fact
place.
that
Yeah.
we only know like 90% of the internet we can't find.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
Is like okay. Is like okay with that, to be honest. Like,
Probably.
I don't think I want to know what's on the rest of the internet.
I think I'm good.
What was it, Ultron? He spent 30 seconds on the internet and said, "Nope, I gotta kill humanity." But yeah, you know that's just disturbing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so gross.
Well, I'm gonna
that's
start
it.
taking off the creepy music now. Give me a moment, because now we can start having fun.
Yay, fun.
Mimi wants to get in on the fun.
Mimi!
Yeah,
Bring
she's
me in.
meowing in the other room.
Release her. Free her.
If there wasn't a bunch of shit in front of the door, I would.
Let her conquer.
Let her conquer.
This is her kingdom, not yours.
This is true. It definitely is her kingdom.
Well, let's actually address some of these freaking comments. My God, you guys are doing.
Oh yes.
You guys have been
I
wonderful.
saw some questions. I saw some questions. I saw some comments. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
God, I don't know where to begin.
You begin at the beginning. So William Afton and Henry Emily started a restaurant called Fredbear's Family Diner.
Go on. Mm-hmm. Never heard of
And-
this before.
Yeah, and some kids died at some point, and then their spirits inhabited the animatronics, and then they started killing security
That
guards.
sounds like a skill issue on the kid's part.
It is, because like get attached to something like real. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
why
come
you-
on.
Like if you were to haunt something for the rest of your afterlife, which is arguably forever, why the fuck would you pick the Chuck? E. Cheese?
Hey. Here's an idea. How about you don't die?
Yeah, just don't die. Like why?
Use your head.
Why get? It's a purple man.
I've lost control of my own show.
It's a purple man, for God's sake.
All right,
Hello?
Tommy, look at this.
Police?
Tommy wrote something about my story, and I got to address it. Tommy said,
is
to be
it?
fair, when you are delusional, like with hypothermia, you can have adrenaline and get up and walk. You can also be numb and not feel pain. He wasn't fucking mauled. However, I am saying he got dragged, got out of the fucking sleeping bag, and ran for his life.
Yes.
That's what I think happened, and then he died of hypothermia. I do not believe he had hypothermia when he went to sleep. I do believe he was really cold, but he had his sleeping bag, and he was wearing the proper, gloves, a hat. He was bundled up. So that's what I think.
Oh shit, Mimi! Oh fuck, I didn't realize.
Oh, Mimi!
Hell yeah!
Mimi.
There she is.
I have obtained the Mimi. No, Mimi, please. I just want to love you. No, no.
You're screaming into her ears. You frightened her. No, you can't.
Who the fuck
You
is
can't
that
have my
voice?
rubber band, Mimi.
What is that voice?
Oh, I heard her.
That's the cryptid.
Yeah.
You want this rubber band? I can make her meow.
Don't
Want this
give
rubber
the
band?
cat a rubber band. That's bad.
I'm not giving it to her. I'm not letting her have it. You want it?
See if she'll
Maybe.
jump through it.
You want to jump through? Do tricks. No, you can't have soy sauce.
Yeah, Mimi. Woo.
I just love how he has soy sauce on the table.
Hey, it's a
I
nice
had
beverage.
sushi before the
Speaking-
stream. Well, actually, I didn't have sushi yet. I didn't have. Yeah, I know.
Speaking of that,
I didn't have sushi
now
yet
that
because
the
of the
scary
makeup.
stories are over, it's time to break out the booze.
Booze?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Hey, may I have to be that Adam, before you crack into that, I have to be that guy really quick. Do I have a brief moment to run to the restroom?
Sure.
Thank you. I will be
I'm going to leave the
I'll be
camera
right back.
on your thing the entire time, but yes.
okay. So I'll be right back. I have to. Everyone, I'll be right back. I love you all very much. Mwah. I'll be right
The
back.
Super Saiyan has to take a super shit.
Yeah, I'm gonna go run on Snake Way and get to Hiffle and
Mimi, who's on the phone? Hey, look. If you look very closely in the background, right next to the Vanny plush, you can see me. I got water because I'm underage. Yeah, get drunk off water, bro. Mimi, why do you have such a fascination with rubber bands? Mimi, were you watching me on the computer? I was told that you were.
Oh wait,
Oh,
you're
damn it,
you
he was
really
back.
left it on. I thought you said you were just gonna leave it in case you guys showed another screen. Hold on. I have a fucking headphone.
God,
hear you
this
guys.
actually kind of jump
Stop
scared
talking. I
me.
can't hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
All right, I'm back.
I totally did leave it on your thing.
Also, you kind of jump scared me because literally, like, Adam was like, all right, we're going to go to the tri-screen and we're just going to stare at the camera. No one can hear us right now. It's like, we were just going to stare at the camera until Lucas comes back. And then literally he went to the tri-screen and that is the moment you came back. It wasn't even a second later.
I also want to really quick, because I was caught snacking during that one story. Like last year, or was it last year or was it the year before when we did the other one? I don't entirely remember. I think it was the year before. But I had a bowl of candy like that year, and this year I do. But I'm pissed because I couldn't find my fucking Halloween bowl. I bought a specific Halloween bowl. It would be all over the place. I don't know where the fuck it would go. So I'm using a stupid fucking mixer bowl. But my candy choices here it's like a mixture, but it's like Snickers. But hold on, watch this shit. Watch this. Snickers. Biden, do it real quick. It's fucking green. Green inside.
Ew.
Oh my god. Ew, disgusting. It's Ecto Cooler. Yo, can they bring back Ecto Cooler, like, forever?
No. Never.
They need to bring back Ecto Cooler.
They do. Now, okay, I'm going to break into my booze. And this is something I earned. It's just Irish whiskey.
Ooh.
Which I love Irish whiskey.
Booze, you say?
I have not opened it. Oh, Antonio, you got yours too? And let me guess, it's the blue shit.
Oh, yeah.
I love how at Sean's party, right? We for everybody who knows, we went to Sean, our friend Sean had a party and we were there and he brought that fucking blue garbage there. And
It's not garbage. How dare you?
And I just drank it flat out of the bottle, thinking that, you know, it was just a blueberry or blue raspberry mixed with a little bit of vodka.
Oh,
No. No. Oh, man. What a night. Antonio was naked like 90% of that night.
I was not naked. I had a bathing suit on.
You were almost naked, in all fairness. You were almost.
I had one piece of clothing on. 2 if you count the glasses.
the hell do I open this thing?
With your hand.
Oh, I'm trying. It's not
So
working.
there's also Twix in the mix.
Ah!
Twix mix.
Also green. Also green Twix.
I'm keeping this bottle. I love this bottle. You can't have a shot until I have my shot ready too.
Of course.
Wait, I'll wait to finish this half so I can join in with you guys.
Yes, 100%.
So you can get your shot of chocolate.
Yeah, this is mine. Oh, I'm gonna get so drunk.
We gotta
today.
do this fast. We're losing viewers.
Oh God,
no!
we gotta get drunk quick.
All right, I'm ready. All right. Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Halloween.
Oh my God, that's delicious.
What is that again?
Oh my God. It's this shit.
That shit.
Yeah. And it's got like this.
Oh my
That
God.
shit.
It's got like a.
Adam, I just noticed we have our matching shot glasses.
Oh, were we using them?
Yeah, the
Oh,
Hershey's one.
perfect.
Yeah.
The
one that we got together.
This has got like a really good like smoky aftertaste to it that I really like, and it was super smooth.
Mm.
Yeah, this is really good. You know what that means?
Another one?
It's another one.
Oh, another one.
And then
Get your chocolate ready, Lucas.
Oh fuck! Oh shit! I'm sorry. 1 second.
You're gonna have such a sugar rush by the end of today.
Ooh, I'm
I'm
gonna.
to sleep on a school night.
Oh, I'm gonna stay up till 11:02 p.m.
Oh, you're
Oh,
gonna wake
dear
up so late
God.
for school.
on a school night? No!
What a
Hey,
night!
guess what?
But Lucas,
How-
the
what?
prom's tomorrow!
And I didn't do my homework yet.
Now, okay.
But you gotta do all the homework in your agenda book.
All right. In all seriousness,
fuck is
I
this?
want to say this before we actually take the shot. I really miss you guys. I really do.
I miss you too. I
I miss you too, bro.
miss my buddy.
Yeah, I miss my kaiju buddy, and I miss my weirdo friend.
Which one am I?
All right, well, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Ugh. Oh yeah.
Ooh, all right, that's enough of that for a little while.
Oh yeah, that's the good stuff.
What?
Anyways, let's start addressing some of these damn comments, because I feel like we've been ignoring them for too long.
Comments.
right.
Comments.
Okay, but there wasn't any kind of trauma on Mark. Yeah. Oh no, he was addressing that. Okay. Randy Pickles Hose.
Mean pickle shoes. Randy's pickles hose.
Damn, that was fucking quick. That was like quick.
Oh, shit.
Hello, Mr. Pickles hose.
See if it was a hog. Let's see.
That's almost as good as fucking what's your favorite ship, and then he names a boat.
Shut up. Shut up right now, sir.
Wait, hold on. I'm sorry. I gotta call something out here in the chat really quick.
What's
From
happening?
Tommy. Oh, you are disgusting me. Has Count Chocula? He doesn't have Blueberry. I am not sitting.
No,
here with like
no.
Fuck no.
I
Count
think
Chocula is the best of the three. Get the fuck out of here.
Adam, I think he needs to go in a timeout.
Are you an admin? I think I made you an admin.
Don't actually.
Am I an admin? If I'm an admin, he's going in a timeout. I'm
Did
not
you
an
guys see? They brought Fruit Root back this year.
Yes, they did.
They did. I want to try it. It's cherry apparently.
I
wanna
saw it
actually
in
try
Target, and I'm like, no way.
Oh yeah, my friend
Yeah.
Oliver did an entire video because he's been going on a mission ever since I can remember, where he was trying to find he was trying to find the
I am not
werewolf
gonna
one.
sit here. Adam, I'm sorry to cut you off. I'm not sitting here tolerating Count Chocula. Count Chocula is not the
Don't
worst.
egg him
Get
on.
out.
No way.
Tommy is what you would like
Okay.
to call a contrarian.
Got it.
Don't
Tommy-
just ignore him. He will go away.
Tommy doesn't know how to eat dog food.
Antonio,
He's
Antonio,
gonna get killed by a dog.
Antonio, what did I just say?
Okay, but all serious. No, Fruit Brute
Got
is
a
the werewolf one.
screwdriver.
Yeah,
in his
Fruit Brute
diaper.
is the one that my friend Oliver was obsessed over.
Yeah, they brought it back. This
Isn't
year.
that cherry flavored?
Yeah, it's cherry.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
So the Goji Shea 1991 is not familiar with Elsa Gate. That's probably a good thing.
Yeah,
that's good.
that's
But
for
if
the
you
best.
really want to dig into that rabbit hole, go watch Mama Max's like whole YouTube channel. Because he makes amazing videos about that shit, and YouTube likes to take him down.
The
Wait,
ghost of
Maybe it's just
infamous,
in your
the
phone.
ghost of infamous concentration camp guard, Irma Grace is rumored.
I'm sorry.
What, Antonio?
No, I'm just confused at Tommy saying that Count
Don't
Chocula
pay
tastes
attention to
cat
him.
food. But I want to know how does Count Chocula taste like cat food?
Don't,
That's some good
Antonio.
cat
I'm
food.
being 100% serious right now. I am not doing a joke. Ignore him.
Okay.
It's the only way you get him to go away. Actually, you know what? No, I'm going to. How do I?
I've let it go. I know my stance. But I really want to mention Bottles. I love how fucking Mimi is in your frame right now. She just pops in the frame every now and then.
Yeah, she's just sniffing my microphone stand.
Yeah. In a profile, like it's great.
Yeah. It's good shit.
There, I put him in timeout.
Goodbye.
All right.
But yeah. What are some other comments we got going on here right now?
Do you believe the Gillman was an inspiration for Gyra the Green Gargantua?
Which came first?
Oh, the Gillman, hands down. That was 54.
Oh, okay.
Where the Gargantuas
Oh, yeah,
was
wait, yeah.
66.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't think so. And I think
I
I
don't think
answered
so.
that question. I think I said no. I don't think it was. I think they were just inspired by kind of like aquatic things in general.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about a scary monster? It's Gyra. Gyra's pretty freaking. John Selekia asks, "What are your thoughts on Midsommar?"
I'm mad that I missed it.
I hated it.
didn't love it. I did not love it.
I
personally.
really did not like that movie.
I thought it was a lot weaker, and I was not really huge. I respect it, like for what it does, but I'm not a fan of it personally.
I heard it wasn't as good, but I was mad because I knew of Midsommar's existence, but I didn't know it was by the same director as Hereditary. And if I knew that, I would have gone and seen it and probably have been disappointed. But the fact is that I would have seen it.
Yeah.
And I didn't learn that it was the same director as Hereditary until like after the movie was out of theaters.
Yeah, I didn't know that either until it was after the theatrical run. I will say this though, I didn't like the movie. To me, it just made me want to watch the original 1973 version of The Wicker Man, which is genuinely a fantastic movie in every way, shape, and form. Not that Nicolas Cage crap.
Yeah.
The original Wicker Man is genuinely an extremely unnerving movie. And where else are you going to see Christopher Lee in drag?
Oh.
Oh yes, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. All right. Creature from the Black Lagoon freaked me out when I was little. The scene where the creature attacked the two men in the tent early on in the movie got me for whatever reason. It's yeah, I can see that.
Oh yeah.
It's a great scene.
Yeah.
No, the scene that freaked me out the most in Creature from the Black Lagoon wasn't that. It was when the gill man is swimming under the girl. And, you know, she's doing her back strokes and everything like that. And the gill man is under her.
Yeah.
Just watching her. And then
that's
eventually,
like
and then eventually he gets curious and he kind of reaches up to kind of tentatively touch her. And stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which one I think
I
adds
actually
a
like
lot
that
of character to the gill man.
Yeah.
But that's also just creepy to me because I think freshwater ponds and bogs and stuff like that, those freak me out anyways.
Oh no,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that
Yeah.
one. I'm with you on that one. But that scene specifically, like, I mean, that's like to me like one of the most iconic scenes in that movie. Period. But I never found that scene like it could be creepy and unnerving, but I never thought of fear with that scene. I've always thought of more the general curiosity of the creature in that scene, rather than it shows that it's actually really not a vicious creature. It's curious, you know. It's interested. It's not really like out to hurt her. He just wants to know more.
I agree with you. Yeah, I tend to
Yeah,
take that stance in the scene too. It just kind of creeped me out.
Yeah.
And there's another movie too made in this 1960 called Dinosaurus, which is a horrible movie with an amazing soundtrack. But when I was a kid, oh my god, did that movie scare me to no end. Particularly the scene where the two dinosaurs come back to life. Reptilicus also scared me a lot as a kid.
Yeah, I remember you telling
Oh
me.
god, did that movie scare me as a kid. I don't know why.
I got spooked bad by... The thing is, I don't remember which fucking one it was. I think it's the first one of the Heisei Gamera films. I think it was that one.
The first one has a lot of good body horror stuff in it.
Yeah, I think that one spooked me because there was like a scene of Gamera like yelling. It's like almost him like full frame in the camera that spooked me, and I was like,
which is so funny. Everyone has seen
Yeah.
Gamera Guardian of the Universe, but ironically, it's Gamera 3 where he's the most terrifying, hands down.
yeah.
Which, if you haven't watched the Heisei Gamera trilogy, you need to now.
Mhm.
It's so good. It's one of those cases where the movies are so good they will exceed whatever expectations you have in your brain,
Yeah.
even if they're already high. One of those kind of movies.
Definitely.
Anyway, yes, the Otlov Pass incident.
What is that?
I've done that on his channel before.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the Dyatlov Pass incident is hands down the scariest true story I've ever heard. Hands down. And that's another one of those cases where it more questions than answers. And it's essentially just these people went hiking up in the mountains, experienced hikers went hiking up in the mountains in Russia, in a mountain in Russia, and they disappeared. And when they were discovered, their tent had been cut from the inside out. One of the woman of the crew was missing her tongue. And there's a bunch of other things that were going on. Weird things, like they were radioactive. Yeah, like they were radioactive. Some were missing their eyes. Some had their ears cut out. Some had...
What the fuck?
It's one of the scariest fucking stories I've ever heard, period. To the point that I'm so obsessed with it that I might do a history video on it. Because I've read a lot about the Dyatlov Pass incident, and I actually think I know what happened. But I don't want to talk about that, because that'll open an entire... Or at least I have my opinion of what happened.
Yeah.
But there's some people who were like, it was the Yeti. There were some people who were like, it was aliens. And stuff like that. And I don't think that's the case at all, which almost makes it more terrifying.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, and there's this one guy who had no external wounds, but when they did an autopsy of him, it made it look like he got hit by a train.
Mm-hmm.
And stuff like that. Nothing makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's
I remember you
yeah,
sharing
it
that
is
one too.
it is a terrifying true story that ever since I first heard about it, I think when I was a freshman in college, I've been obsessed over it. I've been getting into Junji Ito recently. I would like to know if you are familiar with his work. Yeah, I love Uzumaki.
Oh yes.
I am very much aware. I should explore more though. I have not read.
I am a big fan.
I know Antonio
Yeah.
is.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
if you want to, Martin Caspary Smith. Martin, if you want to talk to somebody who's really into Junji Ito, message Game Controller Network over there, Bottles, Antonio.
Oh yeah, I love Junji Ito. Everything that man does is gold. Oh man.
I'm not as in love with him as you are, Antonio, but man, do I love Uzumaki.
I do. Oh, Uzumaki is so good.
Uzumaki,
but Long Dream is his best story by far.
I think it's still Uzumaki, but I have read The Long Dream.
Uzumaki falls off towards the end.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked how crazy.
I thought it was weird, but okay. But also, like, I don't know how else you would like finish that story too.
I love how in the trailer for the anime that they're supposedly doing about Uzumaki, the music that the guy composed for it is in itself a spiral.
Yes. Yes,
cool.
it's
Yeah.
so cool. I want that animation to come out like now.
It's so... granted, I've also never seen a manga artist really utilize the turn page as well as Junji Ito, though.
Oh, he's so good at it.
Yeah, it's like that's something that you
There
cannot
literally
do
is
in a
nothing
film.
like it.
You cannot do that
No.
in a film.
No.
Well, that's why I didn't like people were they came out with an anime called the Junji Ito Collection.
I heard terrible things
Which-
about that.
I also heard
Well-
terrible things about that.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing: is someone who actually watched it. I like it. I like it as a fan of Junji Ito, but people complain about the fact that like you don't get that like page turny experience with it.
Yeah.
But like you can. How do you do that in a film in like an animation medium? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like just take it as it is. Like think of the page flip as the scene transition. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's the same kind of thing. And sure, some things are kind of lost. Like there's the one with the neighbor in the window where she has like this weird grotesque face and she like obsesses over the main character. But like that one gets a little lost because the anime drawing is not good. Like it's not as terrifying as the original. But sometimes that anime really does capture like the weird like cosmic horror that Junji Ito can really do.
You know what? That's actually a good description of Junji Ito's is cosmic horror, which is my favorite type of horror. Is cosmic horror. I love the idea of something being so horrifying we cannot comprehend it.
Yes.
That scares me so much, which is why I've done 2 videos about this now, actually. The Beyond, directed by Lucio Fulci, why I think that is a good cosmic horror film, despite it not technically being cosmic horror. And that's because you never see what the Beyond is. You just know that it exists, it's terrible, and whoever witnesses it either dies or becomes blinded. And even at the end, where our 2 main characters actually go into the Beyond, they get sucked into it. We never see it. We only see their reactions to it, and they're blinded. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that so freaking much. That movie is another one of those movies where you kind of throw logic out the window because it's just a nightmare. The entire thing it's so weird. It's beyond your comprehension. It doesn't make sense. Our characters are trying to make sense of it, but you simply can't. And I love that idea. I've always loved that idea. That's why H.P. Lovecraft is one of my favorite authors. You know, he really, more than any other author, he nailed that concept. Not just because, you know, he's credited as really spearheading cosmic horror, but just as an author in general. Like hardly anyone has topped him. I mean, my favorite story that he's written is At the Mountains of Madness, which is written so clinically and so matter-of-factly that it's unnerving. And I'm like, it makes total sense because it's a geologist and I think a biologist or his assistant going into the mountains and discovering the origins of man. And it's not pretty. And I love it. And it's got another one of my favorite environments of all time in it. It's in Antarctica. And I'm like, so it's cold. There's snow everywhere. It's freezing. It's a barren environment. Because I've always subscribed to the idea that the scariest hell is not hot and full of sand and full of fire. It's freezing and full of ice.
Yeah.
And I love that. You know, it's so weird because I think winter is the most beautiful season, or one of the more beautiful seasons. Like I think snow on the ground, and especially in the area where I am right now, is absolutely gorgeous. But it can be so terrifying.
Do you know what's kind of funny about that? I'm not trying to undermine it because I kind of just realized it as you described it. Do you know what actually did that portrayal of hell very recently?
Oh, there was?
No, but like not like this isn't serious. That's how Smiling Friends portrayed a hell. It was.
Oh
clear.
yeah.
I just kind of thought about that as you said it. Like,
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah, that's right.
well, I didn't know
it was
that.
like ice and glaciers. Like,
Yeah, like when that was when he sees his grandmother, right?
yeah.
Darling, would you have a piece of hard candy?
I just thought that was fun. That like, it kind of hit me. I'm like, yeah, that's how they did hell in that show. I didn't even take note of that in the moment.
Well,
really.
not the whole of hell. Just
Yeah,
that particular
just
section
like
of
as soon as
hell.
he got. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like a deeper. It was like the
Yeah.
one of the deeper circles.
So if rabbits eat meat, could Bugs Bunny technically eat Elmer Fudd? Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Fuck it. I believe it.
I'd watch that, John. I'd watch that.
Well, it's had it too good for too long.
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck Elmer Fudd. He did. He
Oh,
did too many rabbits.
Randy Pickle Shoes, not Pickles Hose, says if a farmer has a heart attack in a pig arena, he's gone. You're right.
Yeah.
They're gonna eat him.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And well, that's actually Hannibal. That Hannibal Lecter movie directed by Ridley Scott that I think is better than a lot of people say it is, but it's also kind of silly in parts. That's how the main bad guy in that kills people, is he throws them into a hog pit. And they slowly eat the guy. Yep. I hate pigs. I hate them so much.
I like pigs. They're cute.
No.
Way to shut me down.
Let's see. Oh my god, there's a bunch of comments. Adam, Lucas, and Antonio, did any of you ever see Annihilation? Yes, that movie was so fucking good. That movie is
Great
so
fucking
fucking
movie.
good. You know
fucking
what I
movie.
realized though? That movie is basically a remake of Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, because Stalker is about these people that want to go into this area known as the Zone or something like that, where there was
Okay.
this alien entity that has just transformed the entire area, and supposedly it grants a wish.
Okay.
That's very similar
see
to
it.
Annihilation. Yeah, it's very similar to Annihilation. Like, even to the point where it's like cordoned off, the area is slowly expanding.
Yeah.
And once you
That's a
go
great
into
movie,
that zone, reality
Yeah.
kind of gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Annihilation was so good. I was so glad to see that in theaters.
It's a great movie.
Yeah,
It's
so
such a
good.
solid movie.
I've never even heard of it.
That fucking, you can watch it on Netflix. I highly recommend it.
Well, also,
Okay.
Antonio, you probably never heard of it because it got fucked really bad over in marketing and shit like
It
that.
did.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that was also a movie where it was like, we're going to push girl power, but it didn't feel like they were pushing girl power.
It
Oh.
didn't feel like
It
pandering.
didn't feel like it was pandering whatsoever. Because if you look at the
Oh.
logic of the film, it makes perfect sense why they said, you know what, we're going to send 4 women in there this time. Because they've tried everything else.
Mhm.
Because they've tried all men, they've tried all men of a certain race, they've tried different races, they've tried a mixture of men and women, and so they're like, you know what, let's try all women this time and see what happens. Because the thing with that is that every team that has gone in has not come out, and
Yeah.
oh boy, do we find out what happened to them.
Oh,
And I gotta tell you, the scene with his intestines, you know
Yep,
what I'm talking
yep.
about? That is the most no pun intended, gut-wrenching, cringy thing. I remember going, oh, like oh my god, and it was so good. And then let's not say a certain bear sequence within that film.
ooh. Ooh.
Holy fuck, the edge of my seat, terrified. So
Yep.
good.
Yep.
The movie's so good. My friend Oliver really doesn't like that movie, but I think he's wrong in every way, shape, and form.
That also, I like that director's previous movie he did prior, Ex Machina. I like that movie
Oh, he
a
made
lot
Ex
too.
Machina?
Yep.
Ah.
I hope I'm not getting confused, but I'm almost 90% sure. Let me double check.
I think he did. I think I remember that in the posters from the director
Yeah,
of Ex
yeah.
Machina.
And I liked Ex Machina a lot. I actually really enjoy that movie.
I haven't seen it.
It's good. Yeah. It's the same director.
Okay, let's see. Gamma Ray Trilogy is great, but it's a shame it ends on a cliffhanger. Yes, the Gamma Ray Trilogy does end on a cliffhanger, which never materialized anything. But I think that's part of it, though. I think that personally, I think that was all a part of the trilogy. But yes, I can see why you think that, Justin. Godzilla Kira says, I was actually fine with that cliffhanger. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we're actually fine with it for relatively the same reasons. Master Video Studio says, I think the perfect Godzilla vs. Gamera matchup could be done is GMK Godzilla facing off against Gamera 3 Gamera. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Well, you know what? It makes sense, too, considering the fact that GMK and the Gamera Heisei trilogy were made by the same guy. So, Shizuke Kaneko, who also directed the first 2 live-action Death Note movies.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, look at that.
Interesting.
And a lot of porn.
The ones that changed the ending of Death Note.
Yes. To one that I guess people were kind of more satisfied with, I guess.
I don't know.
At least that's what I read in all the reviews.
I mean, you're not... Well, it's because they just made L live, and that's why people liked it.
Oh, yes. Okay. Godzilla Kira says, I'd love to read out The Mountains of Madness. There's a really good audiobook of it on YouTube right now. I highly recommend you listen to that.
Mm-hmm.
Pull up some creepy winter music in the background, and then you're all set for a night. And it's a quick read, too. It's a novella, so it's not like it's Atlas Shrugged, where it's 2,000 pages long. It's a quick read. I own a big Lovecraft collection book, and I can vouch for what Adam says about At the Mountains of Madness. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. It's also a movie that Guillermo del Toro has been dying to make into a movie forever. Like, he's been wanting to make At the Mountains of Madness into a movie, but at the same time, I think it's a blessing in disguise that he hasn't been able to make it, because one, it got us Pacific Rim, and two, I don't think it can be made into a movie. I think if you made that book into a movie, it would be extremely difficult, and I think you would have to change it considerably, just because of the style in which that book is written. I would not want that task. I would certainly like to write something inspired by At the Mountains of Madness. I certainly could do that, but it wouldn't be At the Mountains of Madness. So, let's see. Yep. Del Toro was trying to make At the Mountains of Madness. Yep. I sadly have the Barnes & Noble collection of Lovecraft, and it doesn't have At the Mountains of Madness. Yep. It's also one of his larger books, too. You okay there, Antonio?
Yeah.
Okay, because you're making a lot of noise, and I heard a loud sigh.
Oh, no, I'm just breathing. I kind of need to do that to live, unfortunately. Yeah, like that.
Oh my god, it's coming to me now. It's spreading.
Now you have to breathe to live. Adam, run away. It's contagious.
What?
Oh my god, he's breathing. No. Fuck.
Wasn't.
Run.
Breathe. Run.
Stop breathing.
Well, no, I was making a Godzilla creepypasta reference.
Oh yes.
Run. Oh shit.
Red is genuinely a non-official Godzilla kaiju that I wish would become a Godzilla kaiju.
Yes.
A Solomon too. I like Solomon.
Solomon was cool. He kind of reminded me of King Caesar, though.
Fair.
Like, well, I mean, specifically, like, how he was kind of like the prophesized monster or something like that, and then he shows up and he kicks ass, and I'm like, he's kind of like King Caesar from Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla, except a lot more creepy.
Honestly, like,
the
Godzilla
being cool.
Yeah, like, the Godzilla creepypasta is one of the few creepypastas that I can say is actually genuinely
It's so good. It's so good. And creepy. There's moments in that's genuinely creepy.
And it's based off of a game that just is not that well known.
Yes. Yep, that's very true. The Goji Shea 1991, you wrote that The Terror by Dan Simmons may owe a lot of influence to The Mountain of Madness. Yes, it certainly does, but also that pulled from real history a lot, too. Since the Terror Expedition or the Franklin Expedition was a real thing, which, by the way, if you want to know my opinions on Dan Simmons' The Terror, I've done 2 videos on the subject. And that is one of my favorite horror books of all time. I mean, there's a section in The Terror, which is a dense book, where it goes into excruciating detail because it's written from the point of view of a surgeon, what scurvy does to you. And I had to stop. I had to stop reading because it was making me sick to my stomach.
Yeah, scurvy's nasty.
Scurvy is nasty, but it is expertly written. It is dense, though. It is dense. Particularly, I think, like the first 300 pages of that book are pretty dense and tough to get through. But then after that, I'm like, I couldn't put this thing down. It was so good. One of the best reading experiences I've ever had was reading Dan Simmons' The Terror. I cannot recommend it enough. Also, the AMC show The Terror is really good, but it doesn't hold a candle to what the book did. I don't know how they managed to do that. That was a 10-episode miniseries, but yet it still had to leave out a lot of what happened in the book. I'm not kidding. That book is like that thick. Like I'm not kidding. It's a big fucking book. Let's see. The Godzilla NES creepypasta is great, even though it suffers from a few repetitive tropes. Though it still leaps and bounds better than Jeff the Killer and Sonic.exe.
Oh, you know what sickens me?
Oh god, here we go.
Yesterday I went to the Halloween store to get the face makeup and stuff like that before the stream. And they literally sell Jeff the Killer masks.
Oh yeah,
at Halloween stores now, and I'm like, come the fuck on.
They started doing that a few years back. Actually, it wasn't even like this year. I've seen it a few years ago, and it regardless, they were so late to it in general. Like even then,
it's just weird though, because it's like it just makes me question like who gets paid.
Yeah, it's true.
This is very true.
Like like who owns Jeff the Killer to where they get paid for the rights to the character, if at all, honestly.
Did they call it the Jeff the Killer mask, or did they say it's like Scary Killer Guy Bob?
No, they called it Jeff the Killer.
Oh shit.
Has there been a horror kaiju film?
Cloverfield?
I don't think that's horror.
I would
it's
consider
close.
horror.
There's elements of horror in it, but I still think it's a kaiju film first and foremost.
Okay.
I don't know if there's
Granted, I gotta tell you, the scene where the girl explodes, and how it was shot was genius.
Yep.
You just see the silhouette. That's genius.
Yep.
That was so good.
That poor girl, because I was rooting for her.
She's one of the best characters in the movie.
I think she is the best character in the movie. I was rooting for her. I was like, yeah, you pull through this. You've been through some shit, but I still like you.
Yeah.
And then that happens. I don't feel so good. Bite! We got a bite!
Yeah. It gets so chaotic so quickly. It's
yeah.
Oh, so good, so good. War of the Gargantuas tried to be a horror film. By showing like the use of fog. You know what? I was watching a lot of the original Godzilla recently because it was being played on Comet, and that has a fuck ton of horror elements in that movie. The original 1954 Godzilla. Holy shit!
Oh yeah,
it
was meant to be like a horror.
It was meant to
movie,
be terrifying.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that
like
normally what happens when you're composing a score for a movie is you have the orchestra face away from a giant movie screen, and then the conductor will watch the movie play so he can time the music better to what is being played on the big screen. But Akira Ifukube said when he was doing the music for Godzilla, the original one, I'm going to invert it. The hopes being that the horrors of what are being displayed on that screen in the background would influence the players, and they would add more somber and more emotion to the score itself. And I think it worked, because I think Ifukube's darkest score is hands down the original Godzilla. There's one track in particular called the Oxygen Destroyer that is so fucking dark and brooding. I actually want to send it to you guys. Hold on. It's so good, so you guys know what I'm talking about. Ifukube Destroyer. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, and it's horrifying because of how dark it is, but Ifukube was good at that. I think the Terror of Mechagodzilla score is also probably his darkest score, one of his darker scores. That's a dark movie in general, which is so surprising considering the fact that that's a 70s Godzilla movie. Rodan has some horror elements in it. Oh, you're absolutely right. The worm sequences or the Meganudon sequences where like the worms are coming out of the shaft mine and like cutting people in two. There's a lot of blood in that movie, like a shocking amount for an Ishiro Honda movie. Is that? Anyways, I think I sent it to you guys.
Yeah,
I got it.
I'm listening to it
Yeah,
now.
that's
creepy.
freakishly dark. And then
I also know that I know the track.
and then like it gets to the point where it's just the piano playing that same note over and over
Yeah.
again with a low cello playing in the background.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is
Yeah.
brooding as all hell.
Yeah.
It's great. The
That-
movie is
it
a
just sounds so
masterpiece.
morbid and sad.
It is, and it's the scene fits it so well too because it's a man who was trying to do something good and unlock some of the potentials that oxygen can have, and instead of creating something good, he accidentally stumbled across the worst weapon man has ever had,
Oh my
and he
God.
has to live with that. And they know that it's the only thing that can possibly kill Godzilla, and I'm like, that is, oh,
Yeah.
the movie is so good.
Yep.
And like even, Dr. Yamane, him being a scientist, you think he's going to be the stereotypical scientist who's like, no, we got to save Godzilla to study him. But about halfway through the movie, suddenly he goes, no, he's got to be destroyed. I don't want him to be destroyed, but he has to be. And I'm like, they turned what could have otherwise have been just a cheap knockoff of, American science fiction film and turned it into something stunning in every way, shape, and form. Yeah.
Totally.
And for people who say that the human characters in Godzilla films always suck, the original Godzilla is probably the largest example where that begs to fucking differ.
Yeah.
1970s invasion of the body snatchers scared the living crap out of me as a kid. Have either of you guys seen that film?
Is
No.
that which one is
The one
that?
with Donald Sutherland?
Is that the one where they point?
Yes, and Scream.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Oh, that movie's so good. The movie's so good.
That's a good
I have a
one.
hard time picking between that one and the original movie of which one I prefer.
I like the original a little more.
I do
but
love the original.
I like that.
I
one.
like the themes.
I like-
the themes of the
Yeah.
original film. I like a lot.
Yeah.
How it's a commentary on like communism and collectivism and stuff like that. And I'm like, that's
Yeah.
very 50s, but it's very fitting. It's sort of like The Thing, or The Thing from Another World, and then John Carpenter's The Thing. They're so
Yeah.
radically different, and I love them both. Freaking the original The Thing from Another World has some fucking terrifying moments in it, like the scene where they light him on fire.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Mm.
oh, it's great. Speaking of Godzilla and horror, did you know Godzilla shows up in the music video for Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast? I only bring this up because I'm seeing Iron Maiden on Monday Night Live. Oh, good for you.
Ooh.
Nice.
I'm not a fan of Iron Maiden, but I know a lot of people who are.
I like Iron Maiden when their songs come on the radio, but I never really seek them out.
Yeah.
That's kind of me too. It's like,
Specifically, the music video uses clips from Mothra versus Godzilla, so the '64 film.
okay.
Yeah. Okay. Of course you're aware, Justin. Of course. You follow this stuff more than I do. And I know you follow this stuff more than I do. Because, man, have I not been keeping up with the Monsterverse news that have been coming out lately.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna be honest. I'm kind of in the same boat of that too. I just see the headlines and I'm just like, okay. Like it's like in the sense of just like, yeah, I don't know how we're gonna go until I see like actual stuff for it.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's
I'm just kind of done.
It's-
You're talking to another guy who also still hasn't seen Godzilla Singular Point.
it's with Monsterverse with me. It's a lot just like with anything lately. I've really grown to have the personality of just I need to see something before I say any thoughts on it. Really, like it's like I can't. Oh yeah, they're making an Apple TV show and a new Godzilla vs Kong. Okay, I can't go off of that. Besides that, I need more. Like it's.
This is very true. Yeah, like we don't really have. I guess we have a bit of a plot synopsis though that got leaked.
But isn't it just like
An outline.
Monarch is doing a thing, and there might be titans?
Godzilla and Kong need to team up to fight this new foe, and I'm like, oh, so it's Godzilla versus Kong again.
Yeah, it's. I need more. I need a little more.
Give me more. Give me more.
Like I need more to go off of. I can't go off of anything else besides that.
Yeah.
Like it's.
100%.
I mean, the only thing like from the left threads from any of the MonsterVerse stuff is Destroya because of the Oxygen Destroyer. That's really it. All I can think of. Like, if they want to go that route, but I feel like that's a high. Again, I've always thought this. Destroya is a really important thing to do because of what that character means, and they probably won't do it properly. I'm saying this as Godzilla vs. Destroya is one of my favorite Godzilla movies.
Godzilla vs. Destroya is another one of those movies where it's like, don't touch it. Anything you do is just going to be inferior to it. You want to know what movie I had that with really recently? Fucking Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah is amazing.
Which one? Which one? The first
No,
one?
the 1991 film, the one from the Heisei era.
Yeah,
that movie
that's a good one.
is
That's a good one.
amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways, Kurt Russell and his son Wyatt are going to be in the Godzilla series on Apple Plus. Ooh.
That's cool.
Oh, did you guys? I know I sent this to you, Lucas, but John Carpenter's hosting Godzilla Week or something like that.
Oh yeah.
Because you want to talk
I'm
about
into
a guy who's like a total freaking fanboy about Godzilla and who's probably wanted to make a Godzilla for a long time. It's John fucking Carpenter. That
you know
guy
what John
is a
Carpenter is also a
fanboy.
fanboy of?
What?
And it's really relevant. He's also a fanboy of Sonic the Hedgehog. I'm not even making a joke here.
Oh, is he really?
What?
Shit.
Yeah, no, he is. He was interviewed. He likes Sonic, and he said he was quoted in their interview saying, "I even like the one where he turns into a werewolf."
Oh my god.
So he knows his shit with that too. John Carpenter.
Adam,
John Carpenter's
Queen
so
Kurt
cool.
Carpenter loved the same Sonic game.
I just love the fact that John Carpenter is almost 100 years old and he's still doing music and he's like being a rock star right now. He's like, I'm done with movies. I just want to be a rock star right now. So
Fuck
I'm
yeah.
just going to go up on stage, do a kind of a cute little old man dance while doing all of my synth music.
Fuck yeah.
Like, because John Carpenter,
Hell
man,
yeah.
he's a good composer. He's a good. His stuff
Oh,
is
yeah.
his stuff is very simple, and I think that's how it works. It's like it's very atmospheric. Like his score for The Fog. I know everybody goes to Halloween as like the definitive John Carpenter score, which in many ways it is. But if you listen to his score for The Fog, made in 1980, which is my personal favorite John Carpenter movie, that score is beyond atmospheric. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Love it. If John Carpenter made a movie, he did want to do a remake of Creature from the Black Lagoon. He did. However, Peter Jackson was offered that, and Peter Jackson also turned it down.
Adam, I'm sorry. I heard you was like, if John Carpenter were to make a movie, man, do I got some good news for you. That's what I heard.
Have you ever heard of Halloween?
Yeah. Yeah, I love if John Carpenter wanted to. Have you guys heard Quentin Tarantino's idea for a Godzilla movie?
I have not. Actually.
No.
Look that up. It's weird.
Okay.
It
I mean,
actually
it's
kind of
Quentin, so,
reminds
like,
me of
what do you-
aspects of Pacific Rim, where it's like some people worship the kaiju as gods.
Oh.
Yeah, some people worship Godzilla as a god, and it's weird. I don't think it'd be a good Godzilla movie. I don't.
Nah.
Probably not.
But man, if
But
John
also,
Carpenter,
Quentin Tarantino doesn't seem like the kind of director to make a good Godzilla
well,
movie.
he loves
That too.
Godzilla. He's openly said it many
True.
times. Well, he's kind of like Ryori Kitamura though, where he's like he likes the original movie, but he really loves the '70s era Godzilla movies.
Mhm.
Which, if you don't know who Ryori Kitamura is, he directed Godzilla Final Wars, which is also an amazing movie in every way, shape,
Yes,
and form.
it is. Yes, it is. I love in that movie how New York is portrayed. It is hilarious.
If Carpenter ever made a G film, he should title it Godzilla vs. The Thing. Oh, wait. That's funny. The American title for the original Mothra vs. Godzilla was Godzilla vs. The Thing, because they didn't want to get
yep.
away with it being called a giant moth. Yeah, Ryori Kitamura also directed Versus, which is also a really good movie. I don't like the ultimate cut. I like the theatrical cut of that movie. Or maybe it's the unrated cut? I don't know. There's more fucking cuts to Versus than Dawn of the Dead. And Dawn of the Dead has 20-something cuts to it. So I don't know. This makes me want to rewatch The Fog now. Do it. It's so good. So fucking good. When else is time to do it? If you guys ever are looking for any horror movies to watch that you might not be aware of, and you're looking for new stuff, I highly recommend watching Bravo's 100 Scariest Movie Moments, and it is up on YouTube for free. Because man, did that introduce me to a lot of horror. It introduced me to Lucio Fulci, Dario Argento. It introduced me to several George Romero films, other than his zombie movies. That has a lot. It introduced me to Deliverance, Cannibal Holocaust. I learned about from that documentary, and it's wonderful. And it's got people like Wes Craven in it. Just geeking out over horror movies. Del Toro's in it, geeking out over horror movies. Peter Jackson's in it. It's got a lot of great things in it. It also introduced me to the Blair Witch Project. It introduced me to that, but I highly recommend you guys check that out. If you're into zombies, can you recommend a highly enough Train to Busan? Yeah, I've heard nothing but praise about that movie. Train to Busan.
Yeah.
Well, what time is it? It's almost 11. We started at 8. And we've been going for 2 hours. No, it's almost 11.
Yeah, so 3 hours.
3 hours. So, yeah, I think we're going to have to start wrapping this one up pretty soon.
I would like to just throw one thing in if I could recommend something, because found footage kept getting brought up tonight, and I would like to recommend, if you have not seen them, have you guys heard of the VHS movies?
Yes.
I've heard of them.
Yes, I have.
So VHS is, each one of them is a series of anthology short film horror movies, and some of them, VHS 1 is pretty good, as a good introduction. It's got some good stuff in it. VHS 2 is awesome. There are 2 absolutely banger short films in that movie when it comes to horror, and just specifically Safe Haven. I'm not going to even go into it. Safe Haven is, from start to finish, incredible. It is crazy. There's a third one, VHS Viral, which is not that good, truthfully. But they recently dropped the VHS 94, which is exclusive to Shudder. And I've only seen one of the things from it so far, but it's great. And I really can recommend those enough. At the very least, for different kind of just more experimental stuff, I really would highly recommend those, because they're really fun to watch.
I've never seen a single one.
And the filmmaking's good too.
I know that a friend of mine really likes the first one.
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything good about the sequels.
Adam Wingard directed some of them, and then also some of the short films, as well as I think Gareth Edwards did too, actually, in one of them. But there's people behind it, and some of them.
I'm gonna look that up, because I don't think Gareth Edwards has genuinely made that much.
Yeah, but I recommend them solely because each one is its own kind of experience, and they kind of branch out to different filmmakers. And I forget which ones did well enough that they've actually made films based on those shorts. But I really recommend the VHS movies. At the very least, VHS 2, and if you want to watch all of them, go right ahead. Honestly, you can skip Viral. I thought Viral was pretty not great, to be honest. But I recommend them if you want something different, or in found footage. I would recommend them for that.
I might have to watch those on Netflix later, because I think I tried to watch the beginning of the first one, and I wasn't really into it. So I'll stick it out. You got
to stick with it. You got to stick with them, because they also all have. So they have an individual short film for 3 or 4 different short films. Then they have an ongoing thread that connects them and stuff like that. But it's just, at the very least, watch them to appreciate the different styles of filmmaking. That's what I really like them for, because one short is very different compared to the other ones. If I'm gonna say it without just being as vague as possible about it.
Okay. I didn't even know they were anthologies.
No, yeah, they're anthologies.
Yeah, I didn't know that at all.
Yeah,
I honestly didn't either.
Huh. Well, I'm glad you recommended that, because I just learned something.
If I may make a spooky recommendation, even though everyone on the internet has been talking about it and raving about it and loving it. Guys, I didn't think it was gonna work in a 22-minute format.
Yep.
But they fucking did it.
Yep.
Guys, watch the TV show of Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared. It's so fucking good.
It is great.
It's honest, like, it's hilarious. It's horrifying. In like every episode is horrifying in a different way. It's so fucking good.
And I will also just because I don't want to explain too much about it because it's so worth it to watch it, even for like the production value alone.
Oh,
like
it's
all of the effects
incredible.
work, but the ending specifically to the friendship episode is one of the hardest things I've laughed at in a long fucking time.
Oh yes.
That is all I will say with that. The ending to the friendship one fucking slaughtered me.
It's so good. High recommend.
Martin,
Even just for the spectacle of it.
Me too.
Martin Cosplay Smith says, I always say cosplay, it's Catsbury Smith, doesn't like Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, and he has a video claiming that it has an anti-American sentiment to it. So he took the stance of the mainstream media when that movie came out. I don't think it has an anti-American sentiment to it. It has an anti-West sentiment to it, so I guess by extension that's America. Because that whole thing is about a bunch of Westerners coming back in time and saying, you know what, we're going to stop Japan from having a future because they take over the world economically. Which is interesting, because it's like Japan doesn't take over the world in that movie by military means. It takes over the world economically. And I'm like, ooh, I like that idea. I also love the line. I love the line Wilson says in Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, where they've just foiled their plan with King Ghidorah, but he just laughs hysterically and says, we don't need to do our work anymore. Godzilla's going to do that himself. This new Godzilla, he's unfriendly. He's going to destroy Japan. Japan has no future now. You've done it for us. And I love that so much. Because I love the concept of that movie. It's like, shit, so we erased Godzilla from history. Now we got King Ghidorah. All right, what can defeat King Ghidorah? All right, we're going to resurrect Godzilla. Shit, now he took care of King Ghidorah. Now we got Godzilla. So now we're going to go to the future and bring back King Ghidorah.
It's just an endless cycle.
That movie is apeshit insane. It is apeshit insane, but it is a beautiful examination of Japan's relationship with Godzilla. Like, he's a savior sometimes, and then he's a destroyer sometimes, and I just love it. It's a very... Despite the fact that Godzilla's got, 8 minutes of screen time in that movie, it's definitely his movie. And oh, it's so good. Mwah. I'd rather have Japan take over the world economically rather than a People's Republic of China. Oh, we're not getting into that.
No.
We're not getting into that.
No.
I'm dressed up as Goku. I'm definitely not getting into that.
I don't even know what I am right now. I'm definitely not Spampton.
You're Antonio slowly morphing into Spampton now. It's like kind of like a Two-Face thing going on.
Oh no, I thought he just looked like Antonio going through a goth phase.
Ooh,
Oh, I
goth
am going through
Antonio.
a goth phase with my rosy cheeks.
Here's the thing, Antonio,
Huh?
you could never be a goth.
No, I like goth things, but I am not a goth. No.
You could never be a goth.
by-
You want to know why you can never be a goth?
Why can I never be a goth?
Because you're too
Adam?
chipper.
I'm too chipper.
You're too chipper. You like to laugh at things.
I do
Like
laugh
a goth
at a
just
lot of
wants
things.
to kill himself, right?
Not necessarily.
They're just like, oh, the world is so terrible.
They're just like, everything's so fucking
Isn't there
lame.
a South Park two-parter where it was the emos versus the goths?
Wasn't it Vampire Kids?
Oh, that's
Wasn't
what
that-
it was. It was
Yeah, it was the
Vampire
Vamps.
Kids.
Yeah. Yeah,
Vamp
that's a great
Kids.
fucking episode.
And they call upon the ghost of Edgar Allan Poe.
As the most intense goth.
Yes.
That's so
That's a
good.
great episode.
I love that John just said Antonio's goth name is Raven Spider Cider.
Oh wait, how did he get that name?
I think he just came up with it.
I think he just came up.
Okay.
He just came up with it, to be honest.
Yeah, he said I will not elaborate further.
Oh, okay. Oh, it's John. Okay, it's John. All right.
Hey, respect. I'll respect it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll have to respect that. God, I love Halloween.
Halloween.
Fucking the month of October will always be
Yeah.
my favorite month. It's so good.
I agree.
And I
with
don't care how old you get. Get in the spook season.
Also, like, dress up for fucking Halloween. I don't care if you're fucking 40.
I'm not saying go trick or treating, but I'm saying when it's
Yeah, you
Halloween
don't have-
day, go to work dressed up if
Well,
you can.
You can do adult trick or treating, which is literally going to the store and buying a shit ton of candy for yourself.
Yes, 100%. I'm buying this candy for myself, and I'm not sharing it with anybody.
No, it's fucking mine.
It's
Fuck you,
mine.
Fuck you guys.
Listen, man, at my house, there's 2 bowls. There's one for the children that never come, and then there's the one for me.
It's wonderful. I don't see anything wrong with that.
No.
It's absolutely wonderful. You turned 24 on October 11th. Congratulations.
Happy birthday, A.
Happy
Good to see you,
early birthday.
Happy early birthday.
Happy early birthday. Here's a heart to me to you.
Congratulations, you're 1 year closer to your inevitable demise.
No, no. That was
You know,
beautiful,
I'm
Antonio.
not
Thanks.
tipsy,
No, my
but man, do I feel the alcohol going through me.
I feel that too.
Like I'm not tipsy, like at all.
Nah,
But
me
man, like
neither.
I
I'm pretty
feel like
with
I
it.
feel like the loose, like I'm gonna relax, you know, kind of deal.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
I think it's because I haven't eaten since this morning.
What?
I have not eaten food since this
Oh,
morning.
that's
so the
terrible.
alcohol
You gotta
is
eat.
affecting me.
Homie, you gotta eat.
Baby.
Homie, I got sushi right here.
Start chowing down.
I will once I take off all this fucking makeup.
You're already halfway.
Well, I'm gonna.
Yeah, I'm already halfway there.
Yeah.
I'm already halfway there. Well, you know what? I think this is a pretty goddamn good stream. It was.
Yeah,
I will tell you this. It didn't go how I thought it was gonna go, but I'm okay with that. I had
This
fun.
man, we just chill. We're telling scary stories. We're telling spooky, hilarious things. We gotta talk about movies.
I'm telling you though,
Godzilla.
we've got to talk MonsterVerse. Actually, talk MonsterVerse at some point because I know my listeners are kind of interested. Even though I hate to break it to you guys in the comments section, but my audience is no longer kaiju. It's history and Star Trek. So you guys probably aren't going to see much for kaiju videos out anymore.
My thing is just like with the monster, as I said before with the MonsterVerse, is like I don't have much to talk about right now.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like I need more info.
The only thing that I can say that will still continue to talk kaiju stuff is definitely the live streams. The live streams, I do plan on talking about that stuff still. So
Especially if I'm there.
I think Antonio proved that no matter where I go for a live stream, I'm either going to talk about Napoleon Bonaparte or Godzilla.
Oh man, Sonic Heroes streams are full of them. If you're not talking about the big G-Man in the sky, Godzilla, you're talking about the nappy.
My man. I have the statue up behind me. Or the thing you got me.
Yeah.
It's the going away gift, which I'm extremely thankful for. Yeah, there he is. He's up on the table behind me.
Nappy.
There's
Yeah.
Nappy, along with every book up there being either Civil War related or Napoleon related. So I wonder what I like to read. Yeah, but anyways, I gotta get you two on and my friend Chuck on to play Bigfoot because good
Yes!
God, is that game not
It was
only
so cool.
is that game not only creepy, it's fun. It is so much fun.
Yeah, it seems sick.
Oh, it's
You
so
get
fun.
you get so into it, like like literally immediately as soon as you're in.
I mean, we sucked ass. I mean, if you go and watch that stream, Antonio and I sucked ass last night, but
oh, yeah,
it was
we suck dick.
it was so much fun. It was so good. Like and oh, by the way, I found out that there are objectives you can do.
Oh,
Like if you do the objectives, you get more XP points even if you lose. Like you can take a picture of him and everything like
Huh.
that and stuff like that. And we got to implement that the next time we play. But guys, we have to
Yeah,
play
definitely.
this game.
It's important.
It is important for our friendship. It's important.
We gotta go Bigfoot hunting.
It's important that we do this.
Oh my god, I think he's dying. I
We
think
need
the
to get-
only way to cure it is to play Bigfoot.
We need to
Oh,
play Bigfoot.
I agree.
All right, guys. Well,
Either that or he's shitting himself.
I assure you, I did not. I did that before I went on the stream.
Awesome, great.
The pants are over there.
I'm glad. I'm glad.
So, okay. I had fun.
Me
I don't know
too.
if you guys had fun, but I did.
Oh, I had a great time. What are you talking about?
I had 100% a great time. I like listening to spooky stories. They intrigue me.
They do.
I want to know what the gorilla's about.
I love how the story is so normal. You know, like it's like, okay, they maybe got chased by a bear. Okay, that makes sense. I'm sorry?
The what?
A gorilla?
Gorilla time.
I don't think gorillas are native to this region.
They are now.
Oh my god.
Anyways, so Lucas, why don't you pimp out your stuff and say your
Okay.
goodbyes?
Okie dokie. Well, first and foremost, I have to come clean. I'm not actually Goku, guys.
What?
I gotta come clean before to do this portion. Hi, everyone.
He's a
Oh my
fraud.
god. He's a phony!
I'm Lucas. I'm your local funny man. You could find me on the YouTube channel PowPop, where I do streams pretty often. I have plans streams right now. Eventually, to continue my venture through the classic Sonic games because I've never beaten them. I beat Sonic 1 recently and it was a great stream. I'm going to be doing Sonic 2 fairly soon. It's just this week has been a bit of a clusterfuck to say the least. But you can also find me on Twitter at LScribbleShack. That's my main Twitter. There's also an at PowPop Twitter, but like I'm actually considering like X-naying that because I just feel like it doesn't really do anything.
Okay, that's good to know because whenever we do stuff, I tag that. I tag PowPop.
But the point, I'm still thinking about doing it, but you can find me there. I usually post art on the Twitter. I'm just in the middle of working on something I'm taking a lot of time on to get just right. And then I'll hopefully be back on track to doing my normal track record of stuff. To exit out my portion, have a happy Halloween.
Antonio,
Sorry,
my
Antonio.
good friend, it is now your turn.
Oh god, I didn't study. Hey guys, I have a YouTube channel called Game Controller Network where I live stream games a lot of the time. I also gonna get into the video essay business very soon, as well as I'm gonna be experimenting with a bunch of new content. So I would subscribe to see what I come up with. But also, hey, we got social medias, Twitter and a Discord that you can follow. But yeah. Game Controller Network, right now we're mostly playing Sonic Heroes, Punch-Out, and Kingdom Hearts. So if you like those games, you should come and tune in because I like those games and I really like playing them.
Was that all?
Game Controller Network. I'll see you there.
All right, and of course, I'm Adam Noyce of AN Productions. Thank you all so much for coming out. I want you all to have a happy, happy Halloween. Definitely going to be doing some more videos this month. I don't know about what. But I'm going to make some stuff this month. I don't know what. I don't
Ain't
know
that the
anymore.
$1 million question?
And needless to say, I will say this. I have been working extensively on something that I have not been working on for a long time. And
I know.
it's making me very happy to get back into it. Anyways, everyone, I hope you have a wonderful Halloween. Thank you so much for tuning into this stream. Bye-bye, everybody.
Goodbye.
Bye bye, everyone.